Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning, hello, kids and cubs. And welcome to season 5 and episode number. I'm not actually sure right now, so I'm just going to go around and take a look. 729 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, September 4th, 2025, and it is a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. Nice blue sky with just a little bit of wisp of cloud. I don't see the sun yet, but I know that it's out there given the color of the sky and how the light is reflecting off the roofs in front of me. I am your host, the Eager Beaver. Pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, DamFam. Sorry for the delayed start. A couple of technical difficulties here at the lodge. Main one being that I woke up and discovered that we program our show on certain platforms to make sure that they are highlighted every 2 hours or something to allow people throughout the day to find it, to make it a little easier. And for some reason, I woke up this morning and all the programming for everything, I think, everything overnight just disappeared, wasn't there. So I had to make sure that it was there at least for the duration of the show and my morning errands to make sure that our content does get out there. And that delayed me a little bit this morning, unfortunately, kids and cubs. So even though I know what I want to talk about, it's going to be a little bit fly by the seat of the pants because usually before the show, I'm usually bringing up my articles and clips and stuff to show you. And I did not have time to do that this morning because I was taking care of the other stuff that went awry. So I will beg your indulgence today, but we will get through the content and I hopefully will be able to make it as seamless as possible, given that I now have a certain amount of experience on the production side. If you've noticed lately, I've been better at sticking the mounts and dismounts. So hopefully, I will be able to find the related articles and clips that I need to do today's show on the fly with very little difficulty, and it won't be too apparent that I am searching. But I do have a through line in my head, and I am sure that with your patience and my determination, we will have a very good show. Kids and Gabs, how is your mental health today? I gotta say, mine is still good because my sweetie is still home. And I missed him. And I love him very much. And there have been lots of cuddles and snuggles. I Absolutely can guarantee that. So yes, my cup is filling up from my deprivation. I am a happy beaver. Got to play a little bit of tennis yesterday and performed well, I have to say. We didn't have time to finish our match, so we're going to have to take it back up again when we next play it where we've left off. And I'm actually down a break, which is not that great, but I've been good at breaking. So hopefully that will continue when we take our match up again. But yesterday I was concentrating really on trying to stay on the balls of my feet and, making all those little movements, which have been harder for me because being on the balls of the feet can, activate the part of my foot that I actually broke. But I can take the pressure now. So I've been trying to do that and trying to be better positioned when I strike the ball during the court. I've been trying to uh, you know, attempting little jumps when I serve to try to get a little extra height and a little extra power. I've been trying to come into the net a little more often rather than being stuck to the baseline. But for that, all that kind of stuff, you need to be on the balls of your feet and not just flat footed. And I've been noticing that since I've come back, I've been very, very flat footed, full weight on the feet because I've been afraid to stand forward with the weight there. So I was focusing on that yesterday more than the score, and trying not to, when I fell behind, to revert back to being flat footed and playing safe just to try to get the point, but to work on actually playing like I should be playing. So I sweated a lot yesterday because, when you're on the ball of your feet, you're taking all these little steps and you're jumping and moving around more. And I'm trying to, you know, launch off the back foot to get some extra weight and power on the shots and trying to hit harder and swing faster and all that type of stuff. So I was trying to do all of that yesterday, which I did do successfully for 9 games. The 9 games that we played, it ended 5-4. But man, was I exhausted. Oh my God. It felt like I was putting so much more energy and effort to essentially get the same result that I normally get. But that's what I have to do if I want to get better. So, uh, you know, uh, on the upside, though, however, by moving my feet that way, I did realize that I am able to get more shots in and I'm able to move players around if I'm able to accelerate. Um, I get better angles, and if I'm able to accelerate through the ball a little better, that I can keep the people in the back of the court when I have my range rather than having them come up and then just, you know, dunk on me for all intents and purposes. So my objectives were realized, but yeah, it really takes a lot of effort um, and conscious thought to be on the court and play aggressively rather than just sort of like lean back and try to let the ball come to you and hope that things will happen. Trying to make things happen uh, takes more work than just sort of passively defending and hoping for an opening at some point that you can score on. So I did hit many more winners than I normally do hit in a match by doing that, but I also had a whole lot more unforced errors than I normally do in a match. I think that does happen when you when you play aggressively. But on the whole, like I said, for all of those extra unforced errors, I wasn't worse situated in the match by the time uh, we had to stop so than I usually am in a match. So it might be one of those things, where uh, trying the more assertive and aggressive shot 80% of the time and getting the ball where you need it 40% of that 80% of the time uh, might be an actual pretty good result if you're able to do that enough. And it definitely helps shorten a few points because I tend to be someone. I was listening to some tennis commentators because our Felix Auger-Aliassime was playing Alex de Minaur yesterday, and de Minaur is a shorter guy for tennis. He's about 5'11", like this, but one of the best movers on the court. And but he's trying to change his game too because he turned around and says, I'm getting tired of doing all this running, man." It's like I can, but I would rather not to, not. if I didn't have to, if there was another way. So I think I'm a little bit at that point too. It's like, well, I can run a marathon and go side to side and dig and dig and dig. There's got to be an easier way, man. There's just got to be an easier way to put some matches behind me. So yeah, I'm trying to learn new skills and develop new things. This old dog is trying to learn new tricks, or old beaver, if you would like. And it turns out that I still have the capacity to learn a few. So, like I said, I want to see where I can take this baby when I'm playing, because my improvement has been rather remarkable over the last 2 years, and now I just want to know what I'm capable of. So, you know, put a racket in my hand, make me run, baby. Let's see what I can pull out of that hat. All right, kids and cubs. Let's take a little look into the magic monitor. Who do we have with us today? We have, and you have been chatting up a storm, and that makes me happy, kids and cubs. So we have Kit Mohan with us, Kit Uncover, with the Beaver Dad joke of the day. What happened when Beaver and Grizzly opened a bakery? They sold log rolls and bear claws. But we have Kit Elaine saying good morning, everyone. When we have, I think I mentioned Kit Mohan already, and when we have Kit Mohan, well, of course, we have the whole family to say hello to. So good morning to all of you. Kit Nona Carol is here saying that the power is out in Burlington, Ontario, and a huge storm just hit. We have Kit Bucky saying good morning, all. Kit Grace saying good morning, everyone. Kit playing with 3D saying good morning, everyone. We have Kit Cassie Lake saying good day, good people. And we have Kit Janet S. That's not a name I'm very familiar with, saying good morning, everyone. If you are new to the Beaver Lodge, welcome. Pull up a log, stay a while. We're glad to have your company. Thank you for finding us. We have also in the chat Kid Hyper T 007 saying Bom dia, gente. So hopefully I'm getting this one right now. Bom dia, gente. Or sorry, bom dia. Bom dia. Yes, bom dia, gente. I think I'm getting it now. I'm getting it close to it. We have Kit Sharon with us saying, good morning, my fabulous DamFam. Well, gee, thanks for noticing. We have Kit Argosiaker saying, good morning, kits and cubs. We have, who else here in the chat? Lots of conversation going. I can't wait to read this once the show is over. I think I've got everyone. Oh no, Chris is here. Kit Chris saying good morning, good morning. Hello, dear friend. Glad you're with us. We have Kit Jason. Hey, nice to see you. It's been a short spell. I'm glad that you're here. Says good morning here for a few minutes. Well, thank you. Even if you got a few minutes, we are very happy to have you among us. Who else do we have here? Kid Frank says rainy Thursday where it is. He is. Hasn't started raining here. Hopefully we get a little, but after I play tennis today. We have Kit Gilbert here again, joining us for second day in a row from Knoxville, Tennessee. Good morning to you, and I hope you are having a good day. Who else do we have here in the chat? Lots of kits today. Miss is here saying, hello, my pewts. Hello, Kit Miss. Lovely to see you. And do we have anybody else? Kit Linda M here saying, good morning. Woke up an hour late today. That's okay. That's okay. A little extra sleep, self-care. We will not begrudge you that. Kit Lori Sue is here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Lori Sue is also watching from the United States. So there, you're not alone, Gilbert, this morning, joining us from south of us. We have Kit May here in the house. And that's a new name for me as well. So welcome to the Beaver Lodge if you've recently found us. Kit Chris says, hope recovery continues to go well. It is going very, very well. Thank you so much for asking and for those wishes. My physiotherapist is actually quite impressed with how well I am recovering. I'm further ahead than he thought I would be. I see Hyper T007 saying, yes! So I'm going to take that as a sign that I am indeed getting better. 99 later on, 99% better, Douglas. Well done. Thank you. I have been working on it. We have Kit Tom here saying, hello, good morning, friends. And I think that is everyone right now. Ooh, Pocket Miss says, my right ear is plugged and I get vertigo. Oh my God. I hope that's not the case today and that you're doing well. All right. And yes, and I believe Kit Tom is also joining us from the US here because I say Kit Lori Sue asking, what's the weather like in San Jose? And by the way, do you know the way? Ah, a little shout out to Miss Dion, who is tearing it up on Twitter. I love her Twitter feed. Miss Dion Warwick, of course, for those of you who are wondering, one of my mom's favorite singers. All right, kits and cubs, I have all the hellos in. Today, I am happy to report, my dear little darlings and lovelies and most loyal subjects, that it's a happy day here at the Beaver Lodge. It's a very, very, very happy day here at the Beaver Lodge because today we rejoice. Yes, everyone, grab your cups, raise them up, and let's share a little bit of cheer because, oh man, if you were following the internet yesterday, now there's a lots of things that have happened, and hopefully we'll have a little time to get to them because the prime minister had his uh, first day of his retreat, and there was some news about some Project 2025 guy coming to speak to us, and a lot of people are freaking out. And understandably, we don't want any of those 2025 things here. But as we say on the show as well, it's often very, 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 very important to watch what the other side is saying, to read what the other side is saying, to listen to what they're saying, and to actually talk to them. Yes, because you want, well, in war, if we're going to call it war, in battle, it's important to know your enemy. So I would suspect my first instincts, unless Prime Minister Carney totally is swallowing himself on his book values, which I don't think is the case. But unless that was the case, um, between having the Project 2025 guy over so that we can copy him or emulate him, or have the Project 2025 guy over so we can learn how it is they did what they did and then figure out better ways to counteract that. I would go with the reason for which he is here being the latter, just based on instinct. Of course, I don't know what's in either Mark Carney's head, heart, or soul, so this is just speculation. But I would suspect, given what's going down in the United States and how we are reacting to it, and it's not particularly welcoming or good. That if that person here is here, it's more for intelligence, and we are doing our own research into how that type of operation works, and so that we can better prepare ourselves to defend against it. Would be my take. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But given that this is a retreat and it's more than just a one-on-one meeting with the prime minister. If it was anything else, there are lots of sources for potential leaks. So, um, my first guess would be to not get too excited about that. That this is probably more, like I said, intelligence, reconnaissance, research. Finding out how to shore up our defenses rather than trying to emulate, or as well, if we're looking at emulation as a tactic, um, they are the conservative side is better at getting the message out in language that people understand in punchy, short little hits than we are. We tend to talk too much and use fancy words and big words and concepts and all that kind of stuff that is a little more inaccessible. So there might be some strategy, seeking some information on how to reshape our message to take advantage, quote unquote, of populism without necessarily going the route of populism. Uh, those would be my first instincts. Of course, only time will tell how whatever was said there would be integrated, and none of us are going to know what is said there because, well, cabinet meetings are confidential. So unless somebody's recorded what he said and made it public, or somebody is going to relate it relatively verbatim, or give us a synopsis, we probably will never know in that sense. So I try not to get too worked up in things that I'm probably sure I'm never going to know. And then I just look to see if there are changes in behavior. So if there's a sudden new behavior that starts to appear that seems to be Project 2025-ish, then I could probably link that back and go, maybe that guy was here, brought in for nefarious purposes. But at the current moment, given how uh, unfavorably what the US is doing is playing in the United States, I would have to suspect that the current government, if they did not have a political death wish, that is, brought that person in for a more reconnaissance and picking up some important things that we could do either to use populism to our advantage or to defend against it. But I will definitely keep my eyes and ears peeled because, yeah, when you hear that, it's sort of like, oh, it's kind of like when we heard that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was coming to the G7 uh, sort of meeting where everybody's like, if you sit down, and you think about it, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I can kind of see why one would bring him here, despite the fact that we are having issues. The world is bigger than just our issue with India at the moment. So, and there are other areas, where governments and all that kind of stuff, we have to collaborate across multiple areas. So, right? w- Sometimes you got to talk to the enemy. Sometimes you just do. If you want to move ahead or move forward or not stay stuck in a pattern. And if we're assuming that the prime minister is trying to interrupt some patterns, some of them that are pretty well established. Um, yeah, you might have to uh, sit in a few rooms with some people that are less savory in order to accomplish that. Um, Unfortunately. But yes, I will, as I said, definitely keep my eyes and ears peeled for what transpires as a result of this, and to see if there are indeed any links with Project 2025. If they are, we will see them soon enough. Um, we will see them soon enough because the Project 2025 people are not particularly patient people. Just saying. Okay, get some cubs. But as I mentioned, we have reasons to rejoice because yesterday there was a whole slew of pieces of news that came out, all having to do with Canadian conservatives um, getting their due for all intents and purposes, or signs that some do might be coming to them. As you know, we have been subjected to a metric shit ton of bovine fecal matter from that side of the political spectrum. Lies, deception, grifts of all kinds, really abhorrent behavior, such as occupying a city, taking advantage of people who want to believe that their government is oppressing them, fleecing them for money. Um, Tailing judges, uh, having people monitored, followed, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of abhorrent, odd, downright frightening behavior that a lot of us keep on wondering, like, why is there no consequence for any of this? Right? Where's the consequence for that much disruptive, toxic behavior? And there never seems to be any. They just seem to keep on growing in popularity and having more and more success and raising more and more money. And nobody seems to file any legal complaints. Nobody seems to go after them. Why? Why are they just allowed to run free? Well, yesterday certain number of things happened that, at least for those of us on this side of the spectrum, who have been very, very quietly, well, maybe not quietly, but very, 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 very patiently waiting for some type of consequence. Um, it's happening. Some of it is happening, or at least there's a soupçon that there might be some actual consequences coming. The day got started off yesterday, at least for me. I'm not sure if all these things happened in the order that I'm going to bring them to you, but at least the order in which I noticed them. And the first one came from our good friends at the Breakdown, Alberta, where we had them mentioning something. And this was fairly soon after the show had finished yesterday. I noticed this, and it was sort of like, ooh, darn, wish I would have noticed this during the show. Because I was certainly been very, very happy to bring it up. But from the breakdown, this here appeared yesterday, and it made me very happy. Well, not made my hair, made my ears prick up. So we had here a senior. Oh, let me just make sure I brought it up on the screen for you. Yes, I did. Breaking: a senior member of the UCP administration has been served legal notice for their online activities. Huh. Wow. Um, you could see how a little bit of news like that would make your Royale with Cheeze, Queen Beaver, very happy. And of course, that's all the details that we have with regards to that. So I don't really have much to report other than that. But my first thought was, gee, I wonder if this um, message relates to uh, Danielle Smith's chief of staff, Mr. Anderson. And the only reason that his is the first name that came to mind is that he is rather prolific on social media. So, um, just statistically, judging by the number of uses of social media for whatever purposes that he does use them, um, he could be a likely candidate. I'm sure there are others. There's a lot of people working behind the scenes whose names we don't get to hear and know. But that was the first one. It was like, gee, I wonder if this happens to relate to Mr. Anderson. But yes, kids and cubs, there is definitely someone within the UCP administration, a senior member, who has been served legal notice. Some of your online activities, mm-mm-mm, you may need to curtail those, or there might be some issues. Hmm. Just wonder who that could be. Wonder who that could be. Hmm. Then, kits and cubs, later on, uh, we found out uh, something really interesting. Um, you know, recently we read reported on oh, what do they call that? The JCCF. I keep on forgetting what the name of that organization is supposed to be. That's probably because I'm trying to forget that the organization actually exists. It would be so nice to be able to forget that the organization exists. So nice. But the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, the ironically named Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Well, as you know, recently there is a gentleman from Nova Scotia who decided to film himself violating the law with regard to certain activities that have been temporarily banned given wildfires. And of course, the JCCF rushed in to be able to take their case because, well, they are very, very, very anti government, very anti government. Well, there's a gentleman named John Carpay who I believe, if I am not mistaken, used to be pretty much the head lawyer for this organization. So very, very prominent, founder and president of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. And since we're talking about this, in Skippy air quotes, fine gentleman, well, let's show his face here. And if the Carpay, of course, that is happening because I want to show you his face. That is not working. So I am so sorry, kids and cubs. There we go. This gentleman here, um, well, if you remember back in the days of the convoy, it says right here on the thing, this Alberta liar hired a private investigator to tail a judge. Justice Serge Royale, I believe his name was at the time, because, um, he they had a case in front of the court, in front of this judge, I believe, having to do with COVID lockdowns and restrictions. Well, not lockdowns, really, shelter at home orders and restrictions. And they thought that a clever thing to do would be to attempt to prove that the judge is somewhat biased and a hypocrite by having someone tail the judge to see if the judge was following the restrictions and the advice. It's not Serge Royale, it's Manitoba Court of Queen's Bench Chief Justice Glenn Royale. So the Chief Justice of the court, no less. So, according to this, Manitoba Court of Queen's Bench Chief Justice Glenn Royale was presiding over a case in which 7 Manitoba churches were challenging the public health restrictions. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms was representing the churches. Royale told lawyers in court that while running errands recently, at the time that this was written, had discovered he was being followed. Quote, I have since learned that I was being followed by someone who was working for a private investigation agency. Royale also said that a minor around the age of 14 had gone to his private residence and rang the doorbell looking for information as part of the surveillance effort. So not only was he being surveilled, but the people who were surveilling him actually somehow convinced a child to, I would assume unwittingly, be part of that scheme. Quote, the private investigation agency was apparently hired by a person or persons for the clear purpose of gathering what was hoped would be potentially embarrassing information in relation to my compliance with COVID public health restrictions, Royale told the court, according to a transcript provided to the Toronto Star. And this here, by the way, kids and cubs, since we are showing some faces, is Chief Justice Glenn Royale. This gentleman here. Not sure why lawyers would think it would be a good idea to have the presiding judge in their case tailed, but they thought that this was a good idea at the time. So they had him tailed, and then he continued, without wishing to sound apocryphal, and I would actually have to look up what that word means because I've never seen it before. The situation I have just described raises the specter of potential intimidation and can also give rise to possible speculation about obstruction of justice, direct or indirect. Carpay then revealed to the judge it was he who made the hire. John Carpay, president and founder of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, thought it was a good idea to make his case to have a chief justice tailed, which I am pretty sure is an indication that Mr. Carpay is not all in on preserving constitutional freedoms. He explained the hiring of the private investigator was in the context of determining whether government officials were complying with public health orders. And of course, the one government official they were most concerned about was the presiding judge in a case that they were arguing, an active case that they were arguing. He disclosed surveillance was being conducted on a number of public officials and that the instructions were to carry out the surveillance for observation only, not to knock on anyone's door. Quote, "It was a bad decision to have done this observation during a court case," Carpay told the court. And here's the thing. Yeah, well, let me put it that was an error in judgment, and I'm deeply sorry for my error in judgment in that regard, and I'm very sorry about the impact that this has had on his lordship and family members. Now, you would think, again, that a lawyer who has been through law school, a lawyer who purports to know a thing or two about the Constitution, not a family lawyer, not a contract lawyer, not a maritime lawyer, but a constitutional lawyer, um, would know that this is bad before doing this. That to describe this as a mere error in judgment, that suddenly a allegedly reputable lawyer who went through the same legal, who studied the law in the same way as everybody else did in this country and had to pass the bar, same as everybody else did in this country, uh, suddenly deviated from everybody else in the profession uh, merely on judgment. It was just an error in judgment. It was a bad decision. I think the term I would use for what was done in this case would be a little more severe than, oh, it was a bad decision. It was an error in judgment. It's a downright not what the fuck were you thinking, were you thinking kind of decision. In a public statement, Carpe apologized and said the decision to hire the investigator, quote, was not discussed with the Justice Center clients, staff lawyers, or board members. Um, you would have to decide that you are going to believe that a person that would hire someone to tail a judge who didn't have the common sense required to know that it would be a error of judgment or a bad decision before doing it to hire someone to tail a judge who was presiding over an active case that you yourself were arguing would be honest when he's saying that that decision was not discussed with Justice Center clients, staff, lawyers, or board members. I would have a hard time believing that. A statement by the JCCF board said no member of the board had any prior notice or knowledge of this plan and had not been consulted on it. Well, yeah, that's what you would expect someone to say when shit hits the fan and you're trying to contain it. Had the board been advised of the plan, it would have immediately brought it to an end. That assumes that Carpe would have listened. At the time, Carpe had taken an indefinite leave as president, and, well, the law societies in Alberta and Manitoba had confirmed that they were looking into the matter, and the Winnipeg Police Services said it was also investigating. The incident raised a question of integrity for the JCCF and Carpay, said a former board member, Marco Navarro Gini, who served from 2013 to 2018. He was also the group's vice president for a short time in 2019, but left because he and Carpay, quote, didn't get along. Maybe because Carpay wanted to do things that Navarro Gini thought, maybe these are not good things to do. And he said, well, we're doing them anyway, so either sign on or get off. Quote, "You're doing the same thing that you're accusing the politicians of doing, which is living by a different standard than the standard you set," he said. "That is the clincher for me." Hmm. Now, Carpe has always been controversial, according to this article in the Toronto Star, since his 20s. Carpe has never shied away from controversy and speaking his mind. When he made his first run for public office as a Reform Party candidate in 1993, he was quoted in a student newspaper saying unemployment insurance had, quote, become a general social program for beach seekers and ski bums. He claimed at the time he was misquoted. Sure. During the same campaign, Carpe came under scrutiny for his ties to a newspaper belonging to a, quote, ultra conservative group called the Northern Foundation, whose president was reportedly banished from the Reform Party after the Toronto Sun reported she had ties to racial extremists. Carpe told the Vancouver Province he was unaware of the president's associates and said he joined the group as part of an intellectual journey. Quote, I was dissatisfied with the conservative government. This was a kind of a think tank group. Huh. Yeah, right. Had no idea that the president of the very, very, very ultra conservative group to which he belonged was banished from the Reform Party because you'd think that that would have made a lot of news. It actually says here that the Toronto Sun reported, and I'm sure Mr. Carpay reads the Toronto Sun a lot. But he was unaware, somehow. Over the decades, he has penned hundreds of columns and letters to the editor, archives show. In 1994, he railed against what he called the homosexual political agenda. In 1990, there is no homosexual political agenda. In 1995, he decried mandatory helmets for cyclists, saying that freedom is the right to make stupid choices as well as smart ones. In 2001, he took the then Ralph Klein government in Alberta to task for spending, far more than the most ideological socialist government in BC ever did. In 2018, Carpay made national headlines when he spoke at a rebel media event and seemed to compare the Nazi swastika to the pride flag, words for which he later apologized. He does that a lot. Again, this is a lawyer, a guy that's supposed to have discernment and judgment and whatnot, but he keeps on making these bad decisions. And that's like, oops, oh, I didn't know. Whoops, that was a slip of the tongue. Whoops, that's not what I intended. Whoops, it was an error in judgment over and over and over again. I think we're seeing a pattern establish as to what type of person he actually is, and then runs to some type of lame excuse to try and get himself out of trouble afterwards. Quote, how do we defeat today's totalitarianism? Carpe said in front of a crowd. Because again, you've got to think about the common characteristics. It doesn't matter whether it's a hammer and a sickle for communism, or whether it's the swastika for Nazi Germany, or whether it's a rainbow flag. Really? The underlying thing is a hostility towards individual freedoms. Really, the rainbow flag is hostility towards individual freedoms? We fought for the right to love, to get married, to be able to have sex without losing our apartment, our job, or our children, or public standing, or even to go sex without having to go jail for it. That's hostility towards individual freedoms. This guy has an interesting view of what individual freedoms are. Carpe founded the Calgary-based Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms in 2010. It describes itself as a, quote, voice for freedom in Canada's courtrooms with a mission, quote, to defend the constitutional freedoms of Canadians through litigation and education. It proclaims on its social media platforms, we sue the government. So anyway, this, and then of course, they put out punchy press releases to drum up publicity for its cases, such as, quote, Indigenous man gets his NDN car license plate back from Manitoba government. 6-year-old told by teacher that girls are not real. Case to proceed to a full hearing. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, you get what type of organization this is. So yesterday, there was a letter that came about that got made public uh, involving him, which was really, really interesting. And well, it would seem that Mr. Carpay's um, career in Alberta as a lawyer um, may have hit a permanent speed bump. According to Elizabeth J. Osler, Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of the Law Society of Alberta. And I will put this up for you, kids and cubs, because you are going to quite enjoy seeing this. I am absolutely convinced. And for some reason, it's taking a little time here, but I think we have it. Let's try that. There it is. There's a beautiful in the English language when it comes to lawyers who lack judgment and discernment and keep on making errors of judgment and bad decisions. A disbarment from the Law Society of Alberta. On September 2nd, 2025, a hearing committee of the Law Society of Alberta ordered John Carpay disbarred, effective immediately. At the time of the disbarment, Mr. Carpay was a suspended member of the Law Society of Alberta. The hearing committee sanctioned Mr. Carpay for the following conduct: failing to discharge all of his responsibilities to his client, tribunals, the public, and other members of the profession honorably and with integrity. The hearing committee also ordered that Mr. Carpay pay costs in the amount of $7,457.50. The full written decision of the hearing committee is posted to the Law Society of Alberta website. Ah, yes. It's doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel good, kids and cubs? Hey, you lawyer who, after all your years of experience, even founding a Justice Center Constitutional Freedoms and being the president of it, um, yeah, who decided to have a judge tailed, the chief justice tailed, in a case that you yourself were litigating. Well, now you're disbarred. Mm, mm. This finger looking good, isn't it? Yum, yum. I think I need to wash that down. Mm, yum, 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 yum. Keep your beaver moist. So, John Carpay disbarred a senior person within the US UCP, receiving a legal notice to, I would guess, cease and desist certain online activities. Now, already my cup runneth over. But was that all, kits and cups? No, it was not all. There was more. Oh, a lot more, kits and cubs. Now, of course, we need to go next to our favorite. You can hear the sarcasm dripping, I hope. Favorite member of the sycophantic conservative press, Mr. Crybaby Caillou himself, who announced, and we will not show the video of him talking because, well, one, his voice is pretty much as annoying as Pee-Pee's. But Mr. Crybaby Caillou himself, Keean Bexte, on Twitter yesterday. I am being investigated by the Carney government and threatened with 5 years in prison for reporting news that embarrassed the Liberal Party of Canada during a Democratic election. Read the facts on the full investigation at defendjuno.com. Oh, send me money. I need you to send me money so I don't have to pay the legal fees because something is happening to me based on my own behavior. Oh no, oh no, that's terrible. First of all, we got to debunk a couple of things because Keean Bexte is not being criminally investigated by the Carney government at all. Now, he might be threatened with 5 years in prison uh, when for reporting news. Well, that's a lie because, well, he's not a journalist. He doesn't report news. He manufactures news, but he doesn't report it. That embarrassed the Liberal Party of Canada. I'm pretty sure the news didn't embarrass the Liberal Party of Canada because he's not a journalist and it probably wasn't news during a Democratic election. Um, so, yeah, uh, Mr. Bexte received a letter. Yes. Well, I don't know if he received it yesterday, but he let the world know yesterday that he had received it. And the letter was not from Mark Carney, was not from the Minister of Justice in any way, shape, or form. Um, the letter came um, from, well, let's take a look here at the letter and give you who it came from. It came from the Commissioner of Canada Elections. Well, different, right? Because the Commissioner of Canada Elections is not the government. In fact, it's an arm's length organization from the government, deliberately established as so. Deliberately established as so. So that the government would not be involved with that kind of stuff. But yes, according to Keean Bexte, he's framing this as being pursued by the government himself. And this letter says, and it was received a little earlier because it is dated August 7th, 2025, but Keean Bexte decided to wait till September 2nd to make it public. As we know, we're talking about Parliament resuming. So he's been sitting on this for pretty much a month. But Commissioner of Canada's Elections, file number 2025-2574, Protected A, dated August 7th, 2025. Subject, Notice of Investigation. Dear Keean Bexte, you are receiving this letter because the Commissioner of Canada Elections has started an investigation. It examines allegations that you have violated the Canada Elections Act, and charges may be laid against you under the Act as a result of this investigation. Based on our initial review, it appears that on or about March 26, 2025, and again on or about March 28, 2025, you published articles in Judo News alleging that then Liberal Party of Canada candidate Thomas Keeper had conducted himself in a manner that amounted to an effective pursuant that amounted to an offense pursuant to the Criminal Code, an Act of Parliament. Specifically, you alleged that he had committed sexual assault and common assault. The allegations have been denied as being false. Under the Act, it is illegal to make a false statement that a candidate has committed an offense under the Act of Parliament. Subsection 91A of the Act states that, quote, no person or entity shall, with the intention of affecting the results of an election, make or publish during the election period, a false statement that a candidate, a prospective candidate, the leader of a political party, or a public figure associated with a political party has committed an offense under the Act of Parliament or a regulation made under such an act, or under an act of the legislature of a province or a regulation made under such an act, or has been charged with or is under investigation for such an offense. What is an investigation? The Commissioner is responsible for investigating cases of potential wrongdoing under the Act. Investigations help the Commissioner gather facts and information to better understand what may have taken place. You can learn more about investigations by looking at our compliance and enforcement policy at this address, cef-cce.ca/policy. So yeah, Keean Bexte is being investigated by the Commissioner of Canada Elections for alleging, in print or in video or both, that a certain candidate, Thomas Keeper, his name is, was guilty of sexual assault and just assault in general. He just said it. Not sure if he had any proof, any claims to back it up. I'm going to guess that Mr. Keeper actually made a complaint in this case, and that this complaint being brought, well, has been brought to the attention of Elections Canada, and Elections Canada enough merit in it to decide that it was going to take a longer look at it. Now, that is very, very interesting. Now, we have Candace Malcolm of Juno News joining in on that, saying, the Carney Liberals are the same as the Trudeau Liberals. They loathe press freedom and are happy to wield the powers of the state to squash their political opponents. Carney has launched a criminal investigation into Juno News and our reporter, Keean Bexte. What did we do? And then she continues, blah, 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 whatever. Like this. So Malcolm is also, like Bexte, making a false statement knowingly, and she ascribes malicious intent to Mark Carney personally here. But the truth is that Keean Bexte is being investigated for allegedly falsely claiming a candidate committed sexual assault. Defamation isn't legal. Actual journalists, base their stories on actual facts, not what they wish, want, hope, or need to be true about someone for other ulterior motives that they have to be able to take effect. Yeah, this is not good, kids and cubs. Not good at all. Now, when Keean Bexte says he's being criminally investigated by the Carney government, well, that's not how Canada's institutions work. This is according to Noah Sinclair here, who seems to understand civics rather well in a way that Keean Bexte, who allegedly is a journalist, you would consider, you would think, should know, considering he's a journalist and while doing research is something that a journalist, an actual journalist, is usually capable of doing with a certain amount of skill and precision. But no, according to Mr. Sinclair, the Commissioner of Canada Elections is the body, the entity who investigates violations of the Canada Elections Act. It's on the letterhead. They are independent, not under any Carney government or government at all. The commissioner is appointed by the chief electoral officer after consulting the director of public prosecutions. It's a 10-year non-renewable term, and the commissioner cannot be removed except for cause. Now, Elections Canada, and by extension, the Commissioner of Elections, reports to Parliament as a whole, not to Cabinet and not to the PM directly. That firewall is on purpose to keep investigations free of political interference. So when Bexte and Malcolm say Carney government, it implies that the politicians control election enforcement, which is false, and everybody in Canada should probably know that. The whole point of Canada's model is independence, established in 1920 to protect trust in elections. And if you want better proof of that, Elections Canada is the body that most countries in the world call in to monitor their elections when they want their elections to be certified as being free, as having been free and fair. An electoral body that is directly under the control of the government of the day of a nation probably would not be entrusted to do that. We have one of the best, if not the best, electoral body in the entire world. That possibly cannot be the case if it is under direct control of the government of the day. So the bottom line is that Bexte isn't under investigation by the Carney government. He is under investigation by an independent elections watchdog that exists precisely so no government can meddle. And according to Mr. Sinclair, if you scroll down his page, the real government he's talking about isn't Carney's. It's your wallet. Calling it a Carney government probe is false. Calling for donations is the real headline. Ah, indeed. Indeed. And then the letter continues after, he's given some information into where to look or to find out more about what an investigation is. Because I'm sure you have to explain that to Keean Bexte because he doesn't seem to get many things right the first time. It's written, what happens next? You are not required to cooperate with the investigation. You will not be arrested or detained, but what you say or the information you provide could be used as evidence. You may contact a lawyer of your choice at any time. The undersigned is the lead investigator assigned to this file. You may reach me by email, and this is redacted, or by phone at redacted. Please include the file number located at the top of this letter and all communications with our office sincerely, and the investigator under contract's name. Their signature has been redacted on this letter that has been made public. So while Bexte is not required to cooperate and won't be arrested or detained during the course of the investigation, what he says or the information he provides could be used as evidence. He may contact a lawyer of his choice at any time, and I'm sure that running to the web to misrepresent the investigation as coming from the federal government rather than the Commissioner of Canada Elections is something that will go into the file. Because how he talks about the investigation publicly and the level of honesty and transparency that he adopts when doing so, I'm sure will be a factor in considering his credibility during the investigation. especially should he be called in for questions. And he does decide to sit for them in some way, which I don't think he will. He doesn't seem to be a particularly cooperative person unless it's with like-minded people. But Mr. Sinclair then goes and looks at the letter and breaks it down in plain English, and then looks at Bexte's response. He says, the letter basically says, the person you wrote about says it didn't happen, and others say your claim isn't true. The letter isn't taking sides. It's saying that there's a dispute, so they're looking into it. Who sent it? The Commissioner of Canada Elections. That's the nonpartisan office that enforces the Canada Elections Act. It's not the PMO, it's not a minister, it's not the government of the day. What is it? A notice of investigation. Translation. We're checking whether the law might have been broken. It's not an arrest, a charge, or a finding of guilt. What kicked it off? Articles Keean Bexte published, naming a federal candidate and alleging they had committed criminal offenses. The letter notes those allegations are denied and described as false, hence the review. And also, which rule are they looking at? Which is Section 91, 1A of the Canada Elections Act, which in simple terms says that during an election, you can't publish a false statement that a candidate, party leader, public figure tied to a party committed a crime with the intent of affecting how people vote. Now, defamation is illegal outside of election periods too, by the way. But it's particularly egregious to do it during an election, trying to affect how people vote. Of course, if you're doing it outside an election period, you're probably still doing it to either disqualify a candidate or, if they do qualify, making sure people don't vote for them. So that's what I mean. Whether in or out of an election probably doesn't really matter, but during the time of an election, it's just particularly egregious. The key elements that the watchdog will look for: was the statement false? Was it made during the election period? Was there intent to influence the result? What the letter is not saying, it's not saying that Keean's writing was illegal. It's not saying that anything that Keean wrote was true or false. It is saying we have to check. The obligations as per the letter, you're not required to cooperate. You won't be arrested or detained for this notice, but anything you choose to say can be used as evidence. You can contact a lawyer at any time. Who's handling it? A named lead investigator contracted by the commissioner is assigned with an email, phone number, and file number for any communications. What happens next? They gather facts, docs, interviews, timelines. If they think the law was broken, they can pursue compliance measures or recommend charges. Now, when they say they can pursue compliance measures, that could be similar to what Mr. Pierre Poilievre has. A lifetime compliance agreement with Elections Canada, which he had to promise to be a very, very, very good boy so long as he keeps on running in federal elections, lest something that he did that proved that he is indeed a cheater, and Pierre acknowledged that he was indeed a cheater by signing the compliance agreement, which is a fancy word for deferred prosecution agreement, which means you've done this thing that we're pretty sure is criminal. And we could take you to court and try you for it, but we believe in encouraging compliance first rather than meting out consequence. So we will give you an opportunity to prove that you can be a responsible participant in an election by signing this document here, in which you will promise to never, ever, 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 ever cheat again. Yes. And we won't try you, but if you do break these provisions, then we reserve the right to take you to court for the cheating that you and I both know you did, because that's why you're signing this. So you don't have to go to trial. And I'm assuming you're signing this because you're not particularly confident that if you do go to trial, that you will win, and you do not want a record. Because running for office when you have a record, especially if you want to run for prime minister, well, that becomes tricky, doesn't it? Not that you can run for prime minister in Canada, as Mr. Grizzly would remind us. Okay, why this exists. Election rules try to keep the playing field fair. The idea is to stop knowingly false criminal-style claims about candidates' rights when voters are deciding. This is an independent watchdog doing its job. It's an inquiry, not a verdict. The process tests falsity and timing and intent against elections law. And then, well, looking at Bexte's response. So the letter to Bexte is a notice of investigation. It's not an arrest or charge. It isn't from political office. It's from the Commissioner of Canada's election. an independent enforcement body. Isn't that law unconstitutional? In February 2021, an Ontario court struck down the then version of Section 91.1 for overbreadth. After that, Parliament amended it so an offence requires knowing falsity. Today's provision reflects that fix. Criminal probe? Not yet. Investigations can end several ways: no action, a caution or compliance measure, an administrative monetary penalty, or in some cases, charges if legal thresholds are met. Let's try reading that again because it tripped over my tongue several times. Investigations can end several ways: no action, a caution compliance measure, an administrative monetary penalty, or in some cases, charges if legal thresholds are met. The letter itself is not a charge. Keean claims Ottawa is targeting us. The commissioner is appointed by the chief electoral officer after consultation with the director of public prosecutions. It enforces the act for any complaint, regardless of party. Calling this the government going after someone is inaccurate. Press freedom does not equal a shield for knowingly false claims that a named candidate committed crimes during an election. That's the narrow category Section 91 addresses, not ordinary criticism or tough reporting. Bottom line on the framing. The document shows an independent watchdog opening a file under Section 91. It does not show criminal charges, and it is not Ottawa directing a prosecution. On fundraising, anyone can ask supporters to chip in, but pitching this as money to fight criminal charges is premature and misleading at this stage. It's simply an investigation notice. He has nothing to do. He doesn't even have to comply. He has no reason to be raising money. He doesn't have to hire a lawyer. Well, I mean, he can hire a lawyer if he wants to, but he doesn't have to. He's got no travel costs because he doesn't have to show up to invest it. So I don't know why he's raising money because none of this has him incurring any costs at the moment. What most notable is what's missing from Bexte's response. There's no, quote, we stand by reporting. Lots of, quote, Ottawa and free speech plus a donate button, but no plain claim that the story is actually true. Very interesting. Because normally when a media or a journalist has this type of um, claim made against them, whether it's part of an election or not, that you are being sued or something, or an investigation is being open. Normally, it's we have the toughest editorial processes and the most regular standards that we adhere to, and we are very, very confident that our reporting meets all of these standards and that the story is indeed true. Says, we will fight this, we will cooperate, but we will fight and we will win. None of that. Keean Bexte. Oh my God, I'm being persecuted by Ottawa and Mark Carney personally. They're trying to curtail my free speech as a journalist. And all of that is a lie. Nobody's trying to curtail your free speech. They're trying to stop defamation and acting to influence the results of an election. You're not being pursued by Ottawa, but by a political watchdog that has been established to make sure that Ottawa doesn't meddle. And right, and you don't need money now. So Keean, as Keean does, lies. So we have a senior UCP official having received what we would assume is a cease and desist letter with regard to some of their online activities. We have the past president and founder of the Justice Center, allegedly, for Constitutional Freedoms, being disbarred because a bad decision or an error in judgment was so bad, among other things, that it reached the level of disbarment. Not your average run-of-the-mill oopsie poopsie. Then we have Keean Bexte with an investigation being opened by the Commissioner of Canada Elections because, well, he allegedly or potentially defamed a candidate with one of the worst things you could say about someone, that they sexually assaulted someone. Right? Sexually assault, pedo, all that type of stuff. Anything sexual of that matter? Is a child pornographer, supports child porn, conservatives like to go to that well a lot. Remember that press release that they put out during the days of Paul Martin, wondering aloud whether or not Paul Martin supports child porn, or actually declaring that he did and then revising it and then making it a question, does Paul Martin support child porn? In order to still associate the name Paul Martin with child porn in the same sentence and get people talking about it. Right? The online, if you're online and you say anything, the number of times, and pretty much anybody who's been who watches this show, who doesn't hate watch this show, but watches this show, and that might be online, probably at some point in your life, you've been accused of being a groomer or a pedo or a defender of pedos or groomers, because they love to use that term a lot, a lot. Everyone who doesn't agree with what my stance on oppressing children is a pedo. Anybody that doesn't agree with my stance that my children are my property is a groomer. Mhm. Mhm. And all of us are standing up here. It's like, if you don't want anybody knowing what it is that you're doing when the curtains are closed and the lights are down, and you're gratuitously accusing everybody else of being a pedo, I want to see what's in your browser history. Just saying. So, we have all of this going on. But was that it? No. There was more kits and cups. And this later one, latter one, particularly makes me happy because kits and cups, as you know, I keep this right here, very close by. You all know kits and cups. Whoops, this fell down a little bit. Your Royale with cheese, Queen Beaver, came into existence as a protest against this person, because this person was running around the country in a trailer, of all things, and declaring herself to be the Queen of Canada and asking people to send her money. And of course, as you know, kits and cubs, when I saw that happening, and I thought, well, gee, if all you need to do in this world is call yourself a queen so that you can net yourself some green, well, darlings, I was born a queen. It's hereditary in my case. So, thus was born your Royale with cheese, Queen Beaver. But your Royale with cheese, Queen Beaver, has had some competition over the while. Some ne'er-do-wells and, well, Romana come latelys decided that they were the actual Queen of Canada. Well, I've been fighting against that ever since, because we all know that there's only one, and it's me. Well, kids and cubs, yours truly may have, let's say the court may have been cleared for your Royal Queen Beaver to reign supreme, because according to Alexander Kwan of CBC News, in Skippy air quotes, Queen of Canada, arrested on live stream after RCMP deployed to village where cult has lived for 2 years. Yes, kits and cubs. The roaming trailer lady, also known as Romana Deluded, Romana Deluded, Romana Delulu, Romana Didulo. Yeah, that's her name. Who calls herself the Queen of the Kingdom of Canada, which is, and I believe they mentioned at some point they were calling it a republic until I guess they figured out that republics don't have monarchs. Yes, according to this article by CBC, RCMP officers have arrested Romana Didulo, the leader of a cult that has been living in Saskatchewan village for 2 years, according to a live stream posted by Didulo on Wednesday morning. The video shared to Didulo's followers on Telegram at 5:51 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday shows two officers wearing tactical gear burst into a room where Didulo is standing. Quote, "Leave the phone down, you're under arrest," one officer says. Didulo surrenders to officers and the camera is pointed at the floor for a few minutes. Voices off camera then remark that the phone is live streaming before the video ends. RCMP have not confirmed any arrests so far. The Mounties did issue a warning that there is a large police presence at Richmond, Saskatchewan, a village of approximately 118 people located 365 kilometers west of Regina, near the Alberta border. RCMP say officers have been deployed as a result of an ongoing investigation in the village. Quote, "There is no known risk to public safety," RCMP said in a brief statement. "We will provide an update on this investigation later today." Didulo and her followers have been living in a former school in Richmond for 2 years. Christine Sarteshi, a professor at Chatham University that researches and monitors cults, said Didulo's followers believe she is, quote, "the Queen of Canada." Didulo tells them that she is the ultimate authority, that she is the ruler under natural law. She is effectively the supreme ruler of all the land. She tells them that they don't have to pay taxes, Sarteshi said in an interview on Wednesday. It's anything Romana says, and the followers truly believe what she says. As you can see, you understand why I would want to be queen, if that's how it works. The cult began as part of a larger QAnon movement, which believes there is a secret cabal running the government, and has now evolved into a sovereign citizen movement, Sarteshi said. Sovereign citizens believe that laws don't apply to them. Well, how convenient is that? Didulo's followers also don't believe in vaccination and are convinced that their leader has alien powers, Sarteshi said. I think that they're attracted to her because she says things that appeal to them. Didulo's followers have disrupted local residents since settling in Richmond. In July, the village office closed its doors to the public outside prearranged appointments, citing harassment and intimidation towards staff. The owner of the property and one of Didulo's followers, Rick Mans, was charged with assault, resisting arrest, and uttering threats. Hmm. Indeed. Oh man, oh man, oh man, kids and cubs. Oh, there we go. This thing always grabs my hair. Ah, it's so hard to remain properly. It's so hard to remain properly coiffed when you are trying to remove your rightful crown. But yes, uh, Didulo has been, well, I'm not sure, arrested. Um, Yes, I guess arrested, because here it says 16 people arrested in all here. Um, and let's see, what else do we have here? This seems to be the same. Oh, no, there's a couple of a little bit of similar, same reporter, similar things in the article, but a little bit, some additional information here. Saint Germain. So who's Saint Germain here? Regina Inspector Ashley Saint Germain of the RCMP said that the RCMP got a report on August 25th on one of the buildings that's possessing a firearm that led to the investigation that culminated in the raid. Quote, "A team of skilled and experienced senior officers was established to oversee this large and complex operation," she said. More than 30 police vehicles from multiple jurisdictions, including 2 tactical vehicles, were at the scene, St. Germain said. A live stream video posted by Didulo to her followers on Telegram captured the moment. And there you go there. St. Germain said all 16 arrests had been made by 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. The investigation is in its early stages, St. Germain said, with investigators still searching the building and interviewing the arrested. She said the identities of all the people and their connections to Didulo have not yet been confirmed. Quote, "At this time, no charges have been laid." Richmond's Village Council declined to comment, deferring to the RCMP. Vanessa Johnson, resident of Richmond, said the raid came as a surprise. Quote, "We didn't really know that anything was going to happen," Johnson said. That's good. You're not supposed to. That's why they call them a raid. Johnson said she was floored with calls about the news and went to go witness the event. She said the RCMP's report about replica guns doesn't surprise her. Quote, "One of the cult leaders was walking up and down my street, which is quite a bit," she said. "They really have talked about shooting people, bringing boots on the ground." Johnson said the news is huge relief for a small community that has felt frustrated and scared. Quote, "Our spirits are so lifted. I feel so happy," Johnson said. "This is the best day of my life." Didulo and her followers have been living in the former school in Richmond for 2 years. Wow. Can you imagine living in that town? Being afraid to even go out? Having people just take over a building and saying, "You're this is now, uh, our land, this is now our territory," or whatnot like this, and, "If any of you, do anything or rat us out or whatnot like this, we'll be patrolling the streets and we'll shoot you." Jeez. I can imagine that the, residents in the town are, definitely, definitely relieved. But yeah, hopefully she's arrested. Hopefully they will find more in this. Well, she is arrested. Hopefully they will find more with regard to this. Um, Pardon me. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Um, I need to take some water. I'm sorry. Mm. Um, Sorry. Whew. Air went down the wrong hole, if you can imagine that being possible. Um, but yeah, it would seem that it could be very soon that your Royale Queen Beaver will reign supreme with no competition whatsoever. Ah, what a glorious day. Rejoice, subjects. Rejoice, kitties. Rejoice, cubbies. You now have only one queen, the one and only, the legitimate heir to the throne. And thank you, by the way. I'm seeing this here. You are the most fabulous, Douglas. Ah, oh my God. I think the chat comments may not have kept up with where I am. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at this here. Oh my God, yes, those things definitely did not keep up with the conversation as was going. Ah, my God. Ah, good stuff. So yes, there we go. There we go. Kit Elaine, all hail Queen Douglas. You. And of course, uh, yes, Kit Linda. I think they were on private property and had the permission of the owner. I believe that that is indeed the case. Kit Linda, and of course, uh, Kit Linda. Thank you so, so very much yesterday for the lovely tweet. I hope I can find it, but Kit Linda sent me a tweet of an entire court uh, doing a lovely curtsy in honor of Queen Beaver itself, which definitely brought lots of uh, joy to my heart. Now, kits and cubs, please, uh, I hope you do understand that this for me is all just fun. I'm not seriously thinking that I'm the Queen of Canada, okay? However, when you play along and you indulge me, it does make my little beaver heart very, very, very happy. So hopefully I will be able to find that eventually. And but yes, Kit Linda, um, your loyalty and devotion to your queen is very, very, very much appreciated and will be very, very generously rewarded. And I promise you, not with sardines and crudité. So, a high-level UCP operative receiving a letter with regard to their online activities. Keean Bexte being investigated by the Commissioner of Elections. John Carpay being disbarred. 16 people, including so-called qWeen, being arrested. I like this, and here we do have it, kits and cubs, for your pleasure. Kit Linda, paying appropriate tribute. Thou wast always the one and only acknowledged Queen of Canada, as everyone bows and curtsies in the court. Ah, me subjects, they're so loyal. It's love and it's real. So, is that see, Kit Sharon, you are the queen of my Canada. Oh, stop. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. All right. But is that all the good news we got? No, Kits and Cubs. Wait, that's not all the good news. Now, there is more good news. Not all of it happened yesterday, but Danielle Smith, who we talk about often on the show because she's just that hideous, um, has had to reverse herself a certain number of times lately. Uh, Originally, the first thing on which she had to reverse herself is a new vaccine policy that she had put in place. Um, she had decided that she was going to limit the amount of vaccine available and charge Albertans for COVID-19 vaccines under the premise that there was so much vaccine wastage because not a lot of people want them. And the federal government is not paying for these vaccines anymore. And therefore, it's now falling on the government of Alberta. And she needs to be very, 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 very concerned with how she spends the money. She's concerned about how the government of Alberta spends money. She who changed the law so that people and elected officials could get bigger gifts without ethical problems, who raised housing allowances for the MLAs, who raised salaries for the MLAs, and all that kind of stuff. The red carpet that they had to put in her office. These trips to Florida to do stuff with PragerU, or these trips to Mar-a-Lago so she can get a photo with what's his name, Kevin O'Leary or O'Bleary or whatever, and Donald Trump together. All these types of things require your money, but vaccines, well, now she needs to be responsible. So she had decided to charge many Albertans for the COVID-19 vaccine. And Manitoba and British Columbia then said, well, Albertans, if you need your vaccine, you can come over here and get it. And then she thought that it was a good idea, the stay in your lane lady, to decide that to try and advocate not only for her province to do it, but for other provinces to do it as well. On her Saturday morning radio show, Your Province, Your Premier, Smith responded to a caller who said it was sad that many Albertans will have to pay $100 to receive a COVID-19 shot, while BC and Manitoba are both offering to give any Albertan who needs a shot for free. And she goes, I don't think they've, speaking about BC and Manitoba, done the analysis we've done. Darling, nobody's done the analysis you've done because nobody's capable of doing analysis in the manner in which you do it because, well, your analyses are rather special. I think they're going to be a bit shocked after they have to pay for it themselves and they're doing the analysis that we've already done. Smith said that muted demand for the COVID-19 vaccine in the winter of 2024-2025 resulted in about $135 million worth of wasted vaccines, as only around 14% of eligible Albertans actually got the shot. Of course, Danielle doesn't talk at all about the fact that, well, she constantly talks down the vaccine and doesn't really want to promote it and does absolutely nothing. And neither does our health minister really to encourage people to get it. That might have something to do with depressed demand. But no, let's just forget about that. And of course, she doesn't mention that the federal government transferred a lot of extra money to the provinces for them to be able to uh, cover that cost. But anyway, she said that wastage is accelerated by the way the vaccines have been packaged, and that over the last 3 winters, Alberta has tossed out about $284 million worth of unused vaccines paid for by the federal government. So there actually has been no loss to the provincial coffers yet. And she could adopt other strategies, such as actually promoting the vaccine, but she hasn't done that. This year, the responsibility for paying for COVID-19 vaccines belongs to each individual province. Quote, "It's an expensive shot," Smith said. "We want to make sure that those who need it, who are immunocompromised, can get it at no charge, and those who want it just for that extra peace of mind, well, they can pay for it. We do the same thing with RSV," she added. "We pay for RSV for those over 75. We don't pay for shingles at all. We don't pay 100% for the cost of every vaccine for every person." Yes, it's true. You probably don't pay 100% of the cost for rabies vaccine or stuff like that. But when we have one that's to combat an airborne virus that can actually kill people, maybe you want to pay for that one. The challenge is that fewer and fewer people each year are choosing to seek the COVID vaccine. Last year it was only 13.7%, and so we have a mismatch of how much we're ordering versus what the demand is. For phase one starting in October, the province will, that was the plan at the time, will offer free vaccines to eligible Albertans, including the following: all residents of continuing care homes and senior supportive living accommodations, home care clients, individuals 6 months of age and older with underlying medical conditions and compromised immune systems, as recommended by the National Advisory Committee on Immunization, healthcare workers, individuals experiencing homelessness, and individuals 65 and older receiving the Alberta Seniors Benefit. Others will have to pay $100. And there's a lot of people that don't understand why does that they have to pay $100, since they assume that the actual shot costs much less than that, and they're wondering how much of that $100 is administration. I guess, and is the administration really that expensive that it requires the shot to be $100, or is the UCP just looking to make some money off this? Citing a reciprocal agreement between provinces and territories in place since 2013, BC's Ministry of Health says that Canadian travelers should be able to receive publicly funded immunization anywhere. The ministry says that, of course, that includes COVID-19 shots and, of course, includes Albertans. In Manitoba, out-of-province visitors remain eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine free of charge, whether or not they have Manitoba health coverage or third-party insurance. In some cases, an administration fee may apply. Saskatchewan said it's still formulating its policy, but will offer free vaccines to Lloydminster residents who live on the Alberta side of the city. Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi criticized the Premier's approach. Quote, "This UCP government's decision to make Albertans pay for COVID vaccines is wrong and must be reversed immediately," he said in a statement. Alberta Federation of Labour President Gil McGowan called the policy shameful. Dr. Shelley Duggan, the president of the Alberta Medical Association, said the province is diverting from other provinces in a way that's concerning. So once again, Danielle Smith is freeloading on other provinces to subsidize something that the province should pay. Our province's immunization strategy still diverges from national recommendations, and there are major concerns around pre-ordering, eliminating pharmacies from distribution, and potential charges for most Albertans, including those prioritized by the National Advisory Committee on Immunization. Immunization is a cornerstone of public health, and access should not be limited by cost or logistics. Smith stuck to her guns Saturday, however, saying it's her job to manage the province's taxes responsibly. "We just have to make sure we're managing our limited tax dollars in the best possible way," she said, "and we'll see how this winter season goes." Just as the majority of Albertans have made the decision not to get vaccinated, she added, "You can look at the numbers yourself. We make all this data available on the respiratory virus website, and last year it was less than 14% of Albertans who opted for it. We've got to match our ordering and our policy towards what the actual need is," she said, "and what demand is. That's what we're doing this year." Well, it seems that Danielle Smith had to uh, reverse herself a little bit on that. Not all the way, but she did have to reverse herself a little bit on that policy and make it available to slightly greater number of people um, than she had originally intended. Uh, but here, the problem with this is that she wants people to sort of like pre-order their vaccine. 'Cause, well, if there is an outbreak over the course of the winter, and some people didn't pre-order because figured, no, I won't need it. And then all of a sudden, let's say there's a big outbreak, and they turn around and say, you know what? On second thought, I think we would want it. Uh, they won't have it in stock. There is absolutely nothing in her plan that plans for the fact of what if there is an outbreak and demand suddenly increases. As we keep on saying on the show, when it comes to the matters of public health and emergencies, because if when everything is done, you feel that your government has overreacted, then they probably did the right thing. If infections and death numbers and hospitalization numbers are down, and you think, wow, the government overreacted, maybe it's because they reacted enough. You only have to underreact once for there to be bad things to happen. Look at what happened with measles, right? So, this, according to the Toronto Star here, on an call-in segment of a radio show. Whoops. Nope, sorry. Um, Danielle Smith is 3 questions deep into her government's plan to become the first in the country to stop providing free and universal COVID-19 vaccines, instead charging $100 a pop when her patience appears to wear a little thin. In fairness, the caller from Westlock, Alberta has more of a comment than a question. She points out that enough people were worried about how to get a shot this fall that British Columbia had been prompted to clarify that it would still provide free vaccinations, with some restrictions to its Alberta neighbors. It's kind of sad, the caller concludes. Well, look. Well, right there. When Danielle Smith starts with that, you know that there's a whopper coming. Smith responds before taking aim at provinces that are continuing to provide COVID vaccines, saying, again, I don't think they've done the analysis that we've done. And anyway, she continues. Um, but yes, she had to eventually change her policy to make it available to more people after the outcry. So that was the first time that she's had to reverse herself. Again, not a full reversal, not a full backflip, but she had to make a change. Then Danielle Smith had some other issues earlier this year with regard to her policy with regard to transgender children. As you know, Kits and Cubs, um, the UCP, alleged proponent of smaller government, does not believe that smaller government applies when it comes to government being in your pants, as Bonnie Critchley so eloquently put it during her election campaign. Or attempt to win the seat in Battle River Crowfoot during the by-election. She basically said, we need to get government out of your pants. Well, in June, this happened a while ago, but an Alberta judge granted a temporary injunction blocking Danny's transgender healthcare bill. According to Lisa Johnson and Jack Farrell of the Canadian Press, an Alberta judge has put on hold a provincial law that bans doctors from providing gender-affirming care to youth. Justin Allison Kuntz, in a written judgment Friday, said the law raises serious issues that need to be hashed out in court and issued a temporary injunction against the law before it fully came into effect. Kuntz wrote that a temporary stop is needed to prevent what she calls irreparable harm coming to young patients while the issue is debated. The evidence shows that singling out healthcare for gender diverse use and making it subject to government control will cause irreparable harm to gender diverse youth by reinforcing the discrimination and prejudice that they're already subjected to, Kuntz wrote in the judgment. The law, passed late last year but not fully in effect, would have prevented doctors from providing treatments such as puberty blockers and hormone therapies to those under 16. Kuntz wrote that denying access to this care not only risks causing youth emotional harm, but also exposes them to permanent physical changes that don't match their gender identity. Quote, intentionally or not, the ban will signal that there is something wrong with or suspect about having a gender identity that is different than the sex you were assigned at birth, she wrote. Gender diverse youth will bear the entire burden of that speculation. Two as LGBTQ plus advocacy groups Egal Canada and the Skipping Stone Foundation took the case to court, and in a statement, Egal said the decision was a, quote, historic win. Also listed as applicants in the case are 5 transgender youth who will be directly affected. EGAL's legal director, Bennett Jensen, said that the decision was a, quote, huge relief for the youth involved. Quote, the legislation does not solve any real issues in the medical system, Jensen said in an interview. Quote, it simply creates them and targets an already very vulnerable small group of young people with further discrimination, and that's what the judge found. Premier Danielle Smith has said she believes the legislation is needed to protect young people from making permanent life-altering decisions. Smith has said it's about, quote, upholding the rights of parents to care for, teach, and protect their children. Of course, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. In an emailed statement to CBC News, Heather Jenkins, press secretary to Alberta Justice Minister Mickey Amery, said, quote, Alberta's government will continue to vigorously defend our position in court and is considering all options with respect to the court's decision. Premier Danielle Smith addressed the injunction on her weekend radio program, Your Province, Your Premier, saying, quote, the court has said that they think that there will be irreparable harm if the law goes ahead. I feel the reverse, she said. Quote, we want to battle this out, and the way you do that is you go to the higher levels of court. If we were to impose the notwithstanding clause, everything would stop. We actually think that we've got a very solid case. You do not think that. You do not think that, because you do not have a very solid case, and any constitutional lawyer worth their salt will tell you that you do not have a case here. You actually do not have a case here. The Premier has previously said that using the notwithstanding clause is on the table as a last resort. Good luck with that. Opposition NDP's leader Naheed Nenshi said in a statement that his party was pleased to see the court's decision, calling it, quote, a great day for young Albertans who simply want to live authentically and safely. Quote, the court has determined what we already knew, that this ban could cause irreparable harm to gender-diverse young Albertans, Nenshi said. This was never about doing the right thing. It was always about demonizing vulnerable kids to boost Danielle Smith's political fortunes. Also lauding the decision Friday was Senator Christopher Wells, the former Canada Research Chair for the Public Understanding of Sexual and Gender Minority Youth. We have tried to get this senator on our show, but unfortunately, the office has said that they cannot foresee a time that he will ever be available. Unfortunately. This quote, this isn't just a win for trans youth, it's a win for Canada's healthcare system, Wells wrote on social media. Quote, no politician should be dictating or restricting your access to evidence-based medical care. EGAL and the Skipping Stone Foundation aren't the only groups challenging the bill. Last month, the Canadian Medical Association and 3 Alberta-based doctors launched a legal case challenging the constitutionality of the bill, arguing it violates their charter right to freedom of conscience. Alberta's other 2 pieces of transgender legislation, banning transgender women from competing in women's sports and preventing youth under 16 from changing their name or pronouns in the school system without parental consent, have yet to be challenged in court. The education bill also requires parents to opt in for their children to receive lessons in school on sexuality, sexual orientation, and gender identity. It used to be that you had to opt out if you didn't want your child, but now parents specifically have to say, yes, I want my kids to receive this education. So that was another change, which of course makes it less likely that kids will actually get it. Now, this was written in June, so I'm not sure if any of the other measures have been challenged in court. But this was a definite setback for Danielle when this decision came along. And then yesterday, once our good friends at the Breakdown Alberta had some additional news on this file that came out. And the news here is that the breakdown reports the UCP are facing a constitutional challenge for their regressive policies on names and pronouns in schools. This is a separate action from the gender affirming care action that has seen an injunction placed against the Alberta government. And according to the Skipping Stone and EGAL Canada, it is written here. For Two-Spirit, trans and gender diverse students in Alberta, today marks not only the first day of school, but also the beginning of a critical legal fight for their fundamental rights. We are contesting the legislation's restrictions on the use of names and pronouns in schools on the basis it violates the rights, safety, and dignity of students. New amendments to the Education Act, which took effect yesterday, are related to, among other areas, 1. Parental notification and consent for students under 16 to use preferred pronouns names and notification for ages 16 to 17. parental notification, and opt-in consent for subject matter dealing primarily and explicitly with gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality, and minister approval of learning and teaching resources and external parties who present learning and teaching resources that deal mainly and openly with gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality. With all of these areas, while all of these areas pose significant issues to the rights, safety, and inclusion of 2S LGBTQI young people in Alberta classrooms, EGAL and Skipping Stone's current constitutional challenge will focus on the use of names and pronouns. Schools should be a place where youth are provided the support, affirmation, and encouragement to grow into the best versions of themselves. This regressive policy is nothing more than the most recent attack by the Alberta government to deprive two-spirit, trans, and gender diverse youth of exactly those opportunities to thrive. So now we have a second challenge on names. Of course, um, unfortunately, there is no court challenge yet to the girls in sports thing, but I assume that one of those are coming because it seems now um, that, well, uh, the government of Alberta, um, they have this form out that parents have to fill in, um, ascertaining or asserting that um, their kid is indeed biologically a girl in order to be able to participate. Um, Now, the Alberta Schools Athletic Association has recently been rebranded as School Sport Alberta. So, if people are wondering about that, but yes, first day of school in Alberta, and there's a book ban, a ban on transgender athletes in school sport, and a specter of a province-wide teachers' strike, all at the same time. Um, so yeah, they have forms, um, something. Uh, like this. Here we go. We have the Calgary Catholic School Board District has a form that says extracurricular student competitive athletics consent. Please sign and return if all parents and guardians agree. So all parents and guardians must agree. So if your mother agrees, but your father disagrees, just getting the signature of your mother is not going to be enough. This form applies only if your child is 12 years of age and older. All parents and guardians who share the right to make education decisions about your child must agree with each other. One parent or guardian can communicate on behalf of the others. Do not complete this form if another parent or guardian disagrees. Female only extracurricular competitive athletics. Female only extracurricular competitive athletics means extracurricular competitive athletics that are intended to consist entirely of students whose sex at birth is female, with the meaning of the fairness and safety in sports regulation. Your child has expressed an interest in participating in the following female only extracurricular competitive athletic activity. Eligibility, and then you have to write in the box what activity it is. Participation in, or they write that in the box when they send it. Participation in any female-only extracurricular competitive athletic activity by students who are 12 years of age or older is limited to those students whose sex that appears on the student's birth registration document is female. A birth registration document is completed at the time of an individual's birth and includes the individual's sex at birth. Unlike a birth certificate, a birth registration documents cannot be changed. Your confirmation of your understanding of this eligibility requirement and the sex of your child's birth registration document is optional, but you must check yes to both questions below if you want your child to participate in the above female-only extracurricular athletic activity. So in other words, you don't have to confirm that your child was actually born female. But if you don't, she doesn't get to participate in sports. So if you want her to participate in sport, then you are forced to meet this eligibility requirement. The questions. Do all your child's parents and legal guardians understand that eligibility to participate in any female-only extracurricular competitive activity is limited to those students whose sex that appears on the student's birth registration document is female? Please check 1, yes or no. Do all of your child's parents and legal guardians agree that the sex that appears on your child's birth registration document is female? Please check yes or no. Uh, and then risks. And this is the end of the first page. Participation in any extracurricular competitive athletic activity can result in an increased risk of injury to your child. Possible physical, mental, and emotional injuries can be severe, debilitating, and lifelong. It is also possible your child will come into contact with a bloodborne or other pathogen that may cause untreatable or reversible infection. There is nothing specifically about being trans that makes that risk higher or lower. So the thing here is that with this, the problem is here in many ways is that who checks? Who checks? Is it just parental consent? What happens if on the field of play there is a girl playing soccer who's got a pixie haircut and another parent, and she's too good, or she got a spot on the team, and some other parent's child didn't get a spot on the team? You don't actually have to be transgender or gender diverse. Somebody just needs to suspect you of being or claim that you are, and all of a sudden, there is an issue with which people are going to have to deal with. So, who checks in the case of a dispute that the child actually is female? Does this lead to genital inspections? And how you know this entire policy is bullshit, it's for Danielle's political uh, purposes rather than anything having to do with defending kids, is that the concern here is always for females. So, male to female transgender students are a danger to other female students because they're so much stronger and all that kind of stuff. Now, of course, if they had access to puberty blockers and gender affirming care, that probably wouldn't be the case. And of course, since nowhere in Canada can a child under 18 receive full gender reassignment surgery, um, there are no actually fully transgender children under 18. So there should be no need for this form. And if you are denying the puberty blockers and all that type of stuff, well, you're creating a situation then where transgender kids could not, or gender diverse kids could not participate because you don't allow them to access the medical services that would make it so that they don't develop the testosterone that could make them bigger or stronger or anything else. But here's the other thing is that there's absolutely no concern whatsoever for male to female transgender kids. Oh, they can participate in the sports. Why? Well, because they're girls, they refer to them as girls, playing boys' sports, and therefore they are not at risk. They're not causing any risk to the boys. But if you care about girls so much, and a female to male transgender child is for you a girl, no matter how much how he or they may identify, then what about their safety playing with a bunch of boys? You don't care about that. You don't care about that. You don't care if the transgender boy gets hurt playing with other boys. You only care if any of the girls get hurt, if a transgender girl plays with them. So it's not about keeping people safe. It's not about keeping all kids safe, is it? Is it? That's how you know it's bullshit. Because they don't care about all of the kids. They only care about some of them. Even in their discrimination, they only care So no matter what the decision is, oh yeah, let the transgender boy play with the other boys because if they get hurt, well, haha, good for them. And well, don't let the transgender girls compete. Let's just deny them opportunities to be a kid with all their other kids out there. A lot of them who are their friends because younger generations, well, are used to the concept of gender fluidity, and most all of them have somebody in their circle who is today in 2025. So let's put a big red letter on them and make them stand out because yeah, that's what every kid in high school loves, right? Is for somebody to refer to them as different. Because high school isn't the period where yes, you're looking for yourself, but everybody tries to be the same as all of their friends because some people don't want to stand out as different because well, we've all been to high school and well, we know what happens when you're different in high school. Often. So let's just make it obvious to everyone that you are different by banning you specifically from playing sports like everyone else, like all your friends can, but you can't. That's going to be really great for kids, right? And transgender or not, if there's some overzealous parent out there that, you know, needs to say that you are for whatever reason it is, well, then what happens? They haven't thought this through, this, but one court injunction and another court case coming, and hopefully somebody challenges this constitutionally because it will never stand. So that's not going well for her. Then, a couple of other things that are not going well for her. The other one has to do with her alleged book ban. Kids and Cubs. Uh, Yesterday, Danielle Smith um, had to make some changes to her book ban because there were a book ban that they keep on telling us is not a book ban at all, even though it is a book ban. But uh, she decided to put this out the other day. And this is really, really, really weird. And a proof that Danielle Smith's mouth can't run as fast as her lies. We had the Minister of Education of Alberta put out this tweet. Yes, I'm going to guess yesterday here, 2 days ago, on the 2nd of September, saying after becoming list of over 200 books that Edmonton Public Schools intended to remove off their shelf will be revising the order immediately to ensure that our classic literary works remain in school libraries while books with graphic depictions or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but Danielle Smith took that tweet and decided to quote it while she wrote here, I'm going to be more explicit than usual so there is no misunderstanding this policy. Um, See here, Danielle, there was no misunderstanding the policy. The policy you wrote is the intent. Now, if the policy as written did not reflect your intent in real life, then why did it go out? Because I assume the policy would have crossed your desk prior to it going out. And if the policy at the time you read it, so I'm guessing you didn't read the old policy before it went out, right? I'm guessing you didn't read it for you to be so surprised that the policy as written, which is what people have to follow, right? You don't put out a written policy and say, yeah, but I don't want you to follow that. I want you to follow what I had in my mind. I need you to guess what's in my mind and read it. Don't follow the actual thing that we put on paper and said, you need to do this. Read my mind instead. You are such terrible people. Oh, you're such malicious people. You're so vicious because you couldn't read my mind. You decided to follow what was down on paper. You silly, silly, silly people. Convinced yet? Yeah, not really, eh? So, I'm going to be more explicit than usual so there's no misunderstanding this policy. The time to be more explicit than usual is when you were actually writing the damn policy and before you issued it. 1. Get graphic pornographic images out of school libraries. 2. Leave the classics on the shelves. 3. We all know the difference between the items in 1 and 2. Let's not play any more games in implementing this policy for our kids. There's nothing clear that's there. What do you consider graphic pornographic images out of school? Well, graphic pornographic images. What do you consider a classic? What is the difference in your estimation, Danielle, between 1 and 2? Let's not play any more games in implementing this policy for our kids. You're the one who's playing games. You said that your intent was only to remove images, or so you claim now, but your policy as written said any depiction. Any depiction. So, are we to, when Alberta Premier, according to the breakdown here, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith claiming that everyone knows the difference between literature and smut, while retreating her education minister admitting that he's rewriting his order because it couldn't tell the difference. So, Danielle Smith did this publicly. And I don't know why she needed to do this publicly because clearly she's chastising her own minister of education. She's basically throwing him under the bus, saying, uh, I need to be more explicit than usual. Well, yes, you probably, if the policy was not what you intended, honestly, then yeah, you probably do need to be more explicit than usual with the person who actually wrote the policy, which would be your minister of education. So you could have just called him into your office and said, listen, this is not what I intended at all. Fix it and fix it in these ways. But no, you decided to make a big public stink about it, like somebody else is misinterpreting your policy for you, other than you guys just being too incompetent to translate down on paper what it is that is in your mind in a manner that is effective. Also, leading to the question here, if Danielle Smith is only concerned with images that are pornographic, then what about the written word? Is Danielle Smith literally saying here, oh, she's okay with smut being put in front of our kids so long as it's not a picture? So it could be audio. If it's an audiobook and there is the sound of someone having an orgasm in it, is that fine for you, Danielle? Because that's not a picture. If it is a book that has some very, very graphic, pornographic depictions of actual pornographic acts, um, you're okay with that because it's not an image? So it's just the images, smutty images you have problems with. So you don't actually have a problem with kids being exposed to smut, just images, moving or stationary. They're not very good at this, are they? Making it up as they go along, trying to entangle themselves from the previous lie by creating another lie, trying to shift blame away from their own incompetence. She's not very good because when I'm reading this statement, so I was only talking about the images. So you're not talking about smut in general then. You're okay with kids being exposed to smut so long as it's not an image. Okay. Not exactly where I would have taken that as a policy measure. Uh, but okay, if that's where you want to take it, Danielle. But I have an idea that that's not what she has in mind. But anyway, if we're looking at the Canadian press as published in Global News, here it says Alberta rewriting order banning school library books to protect classics. Says Danielle Smith. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says her government is rewriting a ministerial order directing school divisions to ban books containing sexually explicit content to ensure classic books stay on library shelves. I guess being chastised by Margaret Atwood helped. Of course, Danielle Smith claimed in a press conference that she didn't read Margaret Atwood's satirical short story, basically mocking her. So, yet another thing she didn't read that she put out. Danielle Smith doesn't read a lot, does she? Smith says the order is being changed to only target books that contain images of sexual content. And I'm sure that once she changes the order to say that, then somebody's going to complain about written smut in the book. She's going to say, well, that's not what I intended. So we're going to have to see her. We're probably going to see her backflip on this again. She's going to have to be explicit again at some point. The initial order covered books with images, illustrations, audio, and written passages with sexually explicit content. Smith says the government's order was misunderstood by the division. No, it seems to have been misunderstood by your Minister of Education, or whomever it is, wrote the order, and everyone else who approved it along the way through the whole approval process. Everybody saw that it was everything, all depictions. But you only noticed once you got the blowback. Oh, that's not what I meant. Danielle doesn't like blowback. Like, not at all. Hours earlier, Alberta's education minister told schools divisions to pause efforts until further notice. Dimitrios Nikolaidis, in an email to school divisions and officials Tuesday, said they should pause any development or distribution of lists of books that are to be removed, quote, including removing materials containing depictions of explicit sexual content. So it was such an emergency to get that content off the shelves. Now. You have until October 1st, and God damn it, we're not giving you any extra money to do it. Just make it happen. Now all of a sudden, no, pause that. Okay, so now we're okay in having these books on shelves a little longer for them to be accessed. The smut warriors, the anti-smut warriors, don't seem to know which leg they're dancing on. The province hasn't confirmed when the revised order would be issued. Yeah, I guess not. The government's move came after a draft list from Edmonton Public Schools of books to be removed from libraries was leaked online last week. It contained more than 200 titles, including Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou, and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, and more. The popular Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon and Game of Thrones books by George R.R. Martin, both of which were turned into award-winning television series, were also on the EPSB list. Yeah, because I believe there was in one of them, Games of Thrones, wasn't there a lot of incest? If I remember correctly, I didn't watch the series, but it's not my type of fare. But wasn't there incest from what I remember reading in the newspapers and that? So that would be interesting. Dozens of additional books were also set to be inaccessible to students in kindergarten through grade 9, including George Orwell's 1984 and F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. The inclusion of Atwood's celebrated novel prompted the author to condemn Premier Danielle Smith online over the weekend. She penned a satirical short story that she said could replace her most famous work in Alberta school libraries. Atwood's short satire is about two 17-year-olds who grew up and married each other and produced 5 perfect children without ever having sex. Smith said last week that the Edmonton School Division was too heavy-handed in crafting its list and criticized it for not following the government's intention with the policy. Yes, don't follow the law, don't follow the policy as written, follow my intention that I have not been able to express clearly in any way, shape, or form, at least not clearly enough that anybody can document it on paper in such a way that it would be easy for you to follow and understand. But it's not her fault that she did not express herself clearly. It's everybody else's fault for not being able to understand her intention. Quote, they have obviously put books on there that there was never any intention of having them target those books, Smith said at a press conference, adding that the division should have exercised better judgment. Or maybe you should have exercised better care and better process and better method before actually putting something out into the public sphere. That is, particularly in order with which others are obligated to comply. Maybe the insufficiency, either intellectually or ethically, is yours, Danielle, and not everybody else's. Nicolaides' order had directed schools to remove books with sexually explicit content, including in illustrations, images, audio, or written passages from shelves by the end of September. So the order explicitly says illustrations, images, audio, or written passages. And she is upset that they complied with the order on written passages. There is nothing confusing about the order as written. There was nothing ambiguous about the order as written. It was very, very, very clear as to all the places and all the formats in which smut could potentially be found in a school library. But then she got blowback and then was like, no, not like that. Well, then, like how, Danielle? Please be precise. I'm going to hold your hands. Well, please, Danielle, please hold the school board's hands. Let the school boards know exactly what you personally deem smut to which kids can be exposed and smut to which they cannot be exposed, and in which format that smut can be or not presented, Danielle. Please. Because you know that this initial policy was written this way, so vague, so that Danielle Smith would never have to answer the question, well, Danielle Smith, what is smut? And by school boards allegedly over complying in order to make sure, beyond any reasonable doubt, that they were on the right side of the law, on the right side of the order. Well, when Danielle Smith turns around and says, if you need us to hold your hand, we will, then uh, that forces Danielle Smith into a situation where she now needs to tell the province and all the residents of the province specifically what it is that she intends that the government of Alberta consider smut or not, that is appropriate for kids to see. And she seems to be indicating here that she has no problem with smut in the written word. She's really not good at this. She just painted herself into the corner of making it such that anything that is removed after this means that Danielle Smith personally believes this is smut. And I'm going to guess that given that not everybody has the same definition of smut, I mean, she believed that Atlas Shrugged should be by Ayn Rand, not Anne, as I said yesterday, should be required reading for kids. And there are plenty of passages in Ayn Rand books um, that have reference to sexual stuff. Uh, there's passages about grabbing breasts in there. Um, but I guess she's okay with that, even though the original directive seemed to indicate that even any depictions of over the shirt action, if it involved um, genital areas, was forbidden. But she's okay with Ayn Rand talking about people grabbing breasts or burying their face between people's breasts in books and having kids exposed to that. She seems to be a little bit all over the place and not particularly precise. And again, this is how you know her crusade is bullshit. Because once you start digging and asking for consistency across formats, across authors, across depictions, then all of a sudden it falls apart and she doesn't seem to know what she wants anymore. I have no. I'm sorry, kits and cubs. I'm sorry, kits and cubs. I do not know what happened there. I hope I didn't disappear from your screens. Yeah, the screen kind of timed out here at the Beaver Lodge for a second. Hopefully, to put in my code word here to get back. Going back to the article, Nicolaitis, under the order, schools were tasked with implementing clear policies by the new year on how the directive would be maintained. The rules, as outlined in Nicolaitis' ministerial order, ban books with explicit sexual content for students in all grades. Those in grade 10 or over would have access to books containing what the province deems to be non explicit sexual content. Other school divisions across the province were expected to come up with similar lists as Edmonton Public, though two divisions confirmed Tuesday that they had stopped all work on complying with the order in line with the government's pause. And we also know that certain um, school boards, like the one in Lacombe, uh, didn't have the resources to do it and didn't have the time and the manpower and were not going to get them. So they decided to not just do the work. They had put out some public announcements that, hey, everybody in the community, if there are some books that you would like, we have them here. We're going to be putting them out and come and serve yourself because um, we don't have time to do this work. So we just decided that there would be no books. That's great for literacy, isn't it? So yeah, Danielle Smith having to reverse herself on that one as well. And then one more Danielle Smith reversal. A couple of weeks ago, Danielle Smith stated that she was making some changes to reporting. Um, Premier Danielle, this is according to Lisa Johnson of the Canadian Press, and then had to reverse herself on that as well. Premier Danielle Smith says she was unaware her government's changes that resulted in the removal of publicly disclosed expense receipts earlier this month. In early August, CBC News reported that the Alberta government quietly published new rules axing a requirement for Smith, her ministers, political staff, and deputy ministers to publicly post receipts for expenses of more than $100. Huh. Our government is reverting to its previous rules after critics from across the political spectrum accused it of dodging responsibility. At an unrelated event in Calgary, Smith said she was unaware of the changes at the time and that it all came about because something got lost in translation. Gee, where have we heard that recently? About the book ban, eh? This is what I intended, but this was what was written, and now there's vicious compliance. Something must have got lost in translation. I wasn't aware that this order said that passages, written passages that would affect classics needed to be removed, even though it's my order, it's my impetus, and that absolutely everybody we talk to or that we hear about talking about the UCP keeps on confirming that there is nothing that comes out of this government without Danielle Smith personally having seen it and signed it and approved it and given her thumbs up and that goofy smile with the crinkled nose that she does. But all of a sudden, Danielle Smith, twice in a few weeks, basically confessing to the entire nation that I don't read my own policies before they go out. And I don't know how this terrible thing coming from our government could have possibly happened. Danielle Smith, if you do not know what's going on in your own government, maybe you are past your best before date and it's time for you to retire. We also had Doug Ford with that recently. Oh my God, I can't believe the Therm deal. All those people at Therm had those terrible things going on with their business. Okay, sure. Yeah, let's say we do believe that, Doug. Now that you do know, what are you doing about it? No, not much, right? So we seem to have this rash of conservative governments who seem not to be aware of what their own governments are doing. I didn't know that this person, this entity with whom we were going to enter into business, had such a terrible track record. Why? Why didn't you know? Particularly in Ontario. You have the second largest budget in the entire country to run a government. Couldn't have put a few dollars towards doing your due diligence? How is it possible you could not know that this was in their past? And now that you do know, why are there not changes to the deal, or why is the deal not being revoked? Why are they not deemed an unreliable partner? Why are you continuing ahead with it? Because if now that you do know you're not changing anything, then turning around saying, I didn't know, really is worthless, because it seems that even if you did know, you would have gone ahead with it anyway, because now you do know and you're not changing anything. So we have Danielle Smith. Oh my God, I can't believe my book ban policy that's not supposed to be a book ban actually banned books. Oh my God, how could this have possibly happened? How did everybody misunderstand my intention? Oh my God, I have no idea how these changes could have been brought about that made it such that nobody had to report expenses over $100 anymore. And I have no idea how 8 years of records could have been ordered destroyed. How did that happen? We need to hold someone responsible. Somebody should have been watching that. Yeah, that's you, Danielle. That's you. You're the premier. The buck stops with you. I am not sure how it is that you are going to the mic several times now, claiming that you have no idea how it is this could have come from your government, how this possibly could have happened when you are the leader of that party, is a good look for you. In fact, if you are actively choosing the look out of all your responses available to you, the look that's, gee, I don't know what's going on in my own government, is the one you choose to wear, imagine how bad all the other ones must have been. If you make the choice deliberately to look like you have no idea what fricking is going on in your own government. Hmm. She said some members of her cabinet were concerned that staying at the same hotels might pose a security risk. The direction was to find a way to redact that information, Smith said, reiterating what she told members of a rowdy crowd demanding transparency at an Edmonton town hall last week. Yes, if anybody heard that, her Edmonton Alberta Next panel really did not go well for her, like at all. But here, the direction was to find a way to redact that information. Why not just redact the information on the receipt? Oh, this person stays at this hotel most of the time. We don't want all the people to know which hotel they usually stay at, so they don't stake it out for measures of public safety. Okay, we understand that because that seems to be happening these days. So let's just make it so that they don't have to report anything about where they would stay, because try to find some place to stay for under $100 in 2025. Yeah, sure, we could have taken the bill that has expenses up to $800 declared and just redacted the address and name of the hotel from the bill as we made it public, but instead, let's just destroy 8 years of records and not have to have anybody report anything over $100 anymore. Yeah, the intent really was to protect MLAs. And those 8 years of records that had been ordered destroyed, she has no right to order them destroyed, because those are records that belong to you, the people, the government of the people of Alberta, because you paid for those records. Those records were generated because MLAs serve you. And in the process of serving you, they had to go somewhere where they had to stay at a hotel. And given that it is your money they use to do that, and you have a right to know how it is they are using your money, those are your records. She unilaterally decided that you were not entitled to them anymore, and also not entitled to know anything about any expense that an MLA was doing that would be over $100. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, I can't believe how this happened. Hmm. I know how this happened. And it's not how you say. Nothing was lost in translation. She was responding in part to an accusation by her former infrastructure minister, Peter Guthrie, who was booted from her United Conservative Party caucus earlier this year. Guthrie said on social media last week that Smith was being evasive and blaming her own cabinet. Quote, as a former cabinet member, I know this. Under the Smith-Anderson duocracy, nothing moves without their permission. See? he said, referring Smith's chief of staff, Rob Anderson, the person who I'm wondering got that cease and desist letter about their online activities. I don't know if it's him. Just wondering. This premier grabs credit when things go right and skirts blame when they don't. Smith said the official policy has gone back to the original intent of the cabinet direction. You see, there we go, intent again. They got the intent wrong, which was to keep posting receipts but redact hotel information. Yes, yes. Keep publishing the receipts but redact hotel information. Just don't publish receipts over $100 and destroy 8 years of records that exist until now. But her only intent was to keep posting the receipts but redact hotel information. How did they get the policy so wrong? Her government is also promising to repost 8 years' worth of expense receipts that were deleted from its website. Marisa Breeze, press secretary to Finance Minister Nate Horner, said deleted receipts are already being put back up on government's public website. The ministry expects them to be fully back by the end of this week or early next week, she said. Quote, this approach protects the safety of officials and preserves Alberta's reputation as a national leader in transparency, Breeze said in an email. And here's the thing, is that they're touting this reversal as, oh, well, gee, look, there was the simpler way all along. Just remove the name of the hotel and the address from the actual bills that we put up for public. Gee, why didn't we think of that simpler way before? How is it possible that we came up with this whole idea of changing the whole reporting procedures to only report bills of $100 or less and eliminate 8 years of records from public view when, the simple answer of just redacting what was on the actual bill, the sensitive information, as is common practice for pretty much anything, legal documents, national security. Because how did we miss the standard process that is used for everything in such cases and manage to come up with an entirely new process that nobody anywhere uses? Gee, I guess somebody must have misinterpreted my intent. I think they got your intent quite right, Danny. I mean, after all, you are the person, again, who changed ethics regulations so that you could receive bigger and more luxurious and lavish gifts without having to report them. You just made the reporting requirement disappear. And here again, you had originally just made the reporting requirement disappear. This is not a new strategy for you, Danielle. It's just that this time people got mad and you got blowback. And as we said before, you don't like blowback. So then you reverse yourself and then blame somebody else and claim that somebody misunderstood you, when the rest of us can see that they understood you quite clearly. You just didn't like the consequences of your own actions. The people got a little uppity. That ruffled your feathers. When the story was first reported by CBC, Smith was out of the country, but her itinerary said she would be briefed on government business. Horner's office told CBC the original changes were to cut government red tape and bring Alberta's policies into alignment with other provinces. Which other province, Mr. Horner, has it such that they don't have to report their expenses over $100 and destroys 8 years of records so that the public can no longer have access to them? Which other provinces were you harmonizing with when you went your own way and did something nobody else does or has even thought of doing? How does it cut red tape for the government to report back to the people whose time and money they are using about what they are doing with their time and money? In what universe does not telling me what you are doing on my time with my dime produce red tape? Seems it creates more red tape if I want to find out. This is literally a lie. This is just word salad. Oh, we're saving money and cutting red tape and bringing our rules into alignment with what's going on else somewhere. Yeah, prove it. Prove that that was it. That was it. Show us the policies of all the other provinces and territories and show us specifically how doing what you had originally done aligns. I would love to see that. Same thing when Danielle Smith keeps on going around all across the province talking about equalization and how Alberta is making transfer payments to other provinces. Really, Danielle? Is that the case? Please, if that is the case, and if you have been doing this for so long, so many years, please show us in this budget or in any other budget of the last, let's say, 10 or 12 years, the specific line item that shows a transfer payment going directly from Alberta to another province. Oh, you can't do that with a budget? Okay. How about an online e-transfer transaction receipt? Show us. Show us a receipt of even $1 being transferred from Alberta to Quebec, as you so often like to hold up as the example. Show us one. It's amazing that after all this time of repeating this lie, that not a single journalist has actually turned around and said, prove it. Do you have a receipt? Do you have a bank transfer? How about your bank account? Where in the budget is the line item that says equalization transfer to provinces? It's not in the budget. Where is it listed then? What did you put it under? It's a very simple question that someone can ask to prove that she's lying. Because if there's a transfer of that much amount of money, there's got to be a receipt of it somewhere, especially if it's a direct transfer to another province. Why aren't they asking all the other provinces? Where's the journalist asking Quebec? It says, can you show us a transaction receipt of you having received money from Alberta? It's not that hard to figure out or prove that she's lying. It's just that nobody asks the damn question. Nobody asks her for proof of all of these alleged transfer payments. Just like nobody asked the finance minister, Nate Horner, for a proof of what policies of other provinces they were trying to align with, or proof of any red tape being cut by this. Chris Sims, Alberta Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, said this week the group is happy the UCP is fixing what appears to have been a mistake. Oh, yes, because the Canadian Taxpayers Federation suddenly believes that a government would have made an honest mistake here. Of course, it's the UCP government of Alberta and, well, Conservative Friends. Shh, don't tell on Friends. So it must have been a mistake. Chris Sims of Alberta, Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, says this week the group is happy the UCP is fixing what appears to have been a mistake and that it's important for taxpayers to have historical data on spending. She said she understands hotel locations being redacted for safety, but that the original rules were put in place for a reason. Oh, and then she goes, and then she says, I do think it was a mistake, Sims says. The CTF director was not the only one who called the removal of receipts questionable. Official opposition NDP leader Naheed Nenshi said it's good the UCP cabinet partially reversed course, but he believes it shows the government is making up things as it goes along, and he's right. Because we've just talked about for the last 5 minutes or so how this is literally flying by the seat of your pants, making policy up as it goes along, and not thinking about the impacts of your current lie that you're using to mask the previous lie that blew up in your face without thinking how the current lie can also blow up in your face. Danielle Smith is just limping from nanosecond to nanosecond, mistake to mistake, claiming, oh, I didn't read this. Oh, I didn't read that. Oh, you got the intention wrong. Oh, there was something lost in translation. Oh my God, how could this have happened under the government that I manage? Somebody should really talk to the manager. The wheels are falling off the Canadian Conservative movement. Cease and desist letters are being put out. Arrests are being made. the Commissioner of Elections is looking in to defamation. The people are standing up and saying, "Hell no, you're not destroying 8 years of our records. Hell no, you're not taking 1984 or The Handmaid's Tale off our bookshelves. Get government out of your pants. Get government out of your libraries. Get government out of your bedrooms. And get government out of your relationship or your child's relationship with their doctor." These are all the places that the allegedly small government UCP keeps on sticking its big nose. The book ban. Going, "We just want school boards to use their judgment." School boards were using their judgment before you decided to stick your big schnoz into it with this order. But that wasn't good enough for you because, well, you have a PR war to win. You have a culture war to win. And every day you got to feed red meat to the base, especially when things are going terrible, when you're getting a lot of bad press about your panels, for example. Oh, let's distract them with a book ban. That's not a book ban, but is totally a book ban. They're still claiming it's not a book ban. If the books have images and you remove the books with images, it's a book ban. I don't know what else to call it. It's a book ban. All right, kids and cubs. A little long today, but there was so much. I hope you're feeling good. Oh, yes, and of course, let's not forget Didulo. Maybe she's gone. And maybe the reign of your Royale with Cheeze, Queen Beaver, from coast to coast to coast of this gorgeous and beautiful land that I love, with every fiber of my soul and heart and being and mind and flesh. Will now face the joy and happiness and welcoming of your Royale, Queen Beaver. Let's make it so, kids and cubs. Let's make all Canada the realm of the Queen Beaver. Especially now that we've got that roaming trader lady out of the way. Yesterday, kids and cubs, was a very, 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 very good day. It was a very good day. There's a lot of us who have been waiting very patiently for a day like this, and may there be many, many, many more in our future, because it's time that we start holding these conservative movements accountable for the political fentanyl that they keep on injecting into the public sphere. They need to be sued for defamation every single time they lie, as a matter of course. They need our public watchdogs to slap them with investigations and compliance orders when they do break the law. They need parents to get government out of their parenting. They need to get the government out of your kids' pants. They need to get the government out of your school libraries. They need to get the government out of your relationship with your doctor. It's not for the government to decide whether you can get a vaccine or not. That should be a decision between you and your doctor. It's not for the government to decide whether or not your child, if they happen to be gender diverse, can get access to puberty blockers. That's a decision for you, your family, and your doctor. Same thing with abortion. It's not for the government to decide that records that belong to you are just going to be destroyed. You paid for those. That's your property. It's not theirs. They have no right to destroy it, not without your consent. They have no right to decide what it is you read or what it is you allow your children to read. If you don't want your child to read something, that's one thing, but it's not up to your government to give you the power to decide what everybody else's children are allowed to read. It is not up to the government to decide that certain kids are not allowed to be kids. It's time for us to stand up and push back. It's time for us to demand that defamation be pursued legally. It's time for us to demand that when governments go out of their way to violate and break the law or create new law that's unconstitutional, that they get taken to court. We have to be the change we want to see, and we have to be the resistance we want there to be exist. We have to be. That's our job. That's our duty. Vigilance is always required. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really, really, really do appreciate it when you do. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like us to help you, we can do that definitely by making sure that you can take us with you if you happen to be a busy beaver and a busy kit and not able to watch our video cast with us on a daily basis. Sometimes you just need to be somewhere else. Well, thanks to the Ray Girl kids and cubs, well, she made our pod page available to you once again this year. If you scan that QR code, or if you're listening and not yet a member, go to podpage.com/the true north eager beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And there, if you click subscribe, kids and cubs, when we have something fresh off the audio cast bandwidth, it comes directly to your favorite podcast feed and just waits for you quietly and demurely until you click on it. It's like, here I am, click me. And therefore, when you need to be away, well, lightweight, portable, aerodynamic, just slip us in your ears and you get to remain informed about what's going on in the world while doing what you need to do to make your world a better place. We like to help. So please register now. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, I should say, well, then you can do so by making your way to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kits Cassie and Kits Elaine are beckoning you, urging you, strongly suggesting, welcoming you to click our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Give them a little tickle. It makes us happy when you do because we see our numbers go up and it helps with the algorithm. And we thank you for that. Now, kids, if you would like to help us in other ways, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you. Subscription services, they're going up, upgrades in technology, all that kind of stuff. We need your help. And if you like what we do and would like to encourage us to do more, well, then we would be grateful to receive your expression, your enthusiastic expression of encouragement by way of a tip at the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we work very hard to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Mm, terrible thing. As you could see, it happened a little bit today and, slightly took me off my game for a second while I was coughing. We can't have that happen again. So please, fill our cups. And my crown might need a little polish now. It might be getting more use now that there's no longer as much competition. So, of course, only the best crown polish will do for your royal queen beaver. So if you would like to help that, either fill our cup so that we're not as dry, or shine our crowns so that we're even more scintillating and blingy than we normally are, we would appreciate that help, kids and cubs. And you can do that by making a contribution via our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And when you go there and leave a couple of toonies, again, makes us very, very happy, and we appreciate everything that you do for us. Now, if you're still doing the Buy Canadian thing, kits and cubs, we can help you there too. If you want to contribute to the Beaver Lodge and ensure that your transaction is entirely Canadian, if you live in Canada, of course, this doesn't apply to our American friends, but if you live in Canada, a direct contribution from your bank to ours via the email address truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. A direct bank transfer keeps the transaction between Canadian institutions, which means there is no USCE tech bro middleman in the middle getting in the way and taking a cut and then taking a portion of that cut and then donating it back to Donald Trump so he can do terrible things to our country. We can't have that. We can't do that. And when you make a direct transfer from your bank to your bank, because no US middleman takes a cut out of it, we get 100% of your donation, which means that your donation goes in the further in the goal of bringing news commented and curated by Canadians for Canadians to fellow Canadians, and of course to all our American friends to whom we provide regular emotional support, and we are very, very happy to do so. So please make your contribution today if you can. Now, if you cannot, that is okay because, as we say on the show, the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter the most to us. And we love it when you share our content, especially when you include a little comment of your own as to why you're sharing it or what you saw in it that resonates with you, or why it is you think that our show is a good follow or that our accounts are a good follow. All of that matters to us because you are influencers in your own communities, and we know that you have reach that we do not have yet. And we would be happy. We are always happy when you put it in service of the the DamFam and what we do here. So thank you very much for your encouragement. We really appreciate that. Kits and cubs. Let's see. I did that. I'm a little lost actually at the moment. I don't actually remember what comes next. Okay. So yeah, share our content. Oh, yes. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is also the address at which you can write to us because we want to hear from you. Like as we said, the gifts of your attention and participation. So let us know what it is about the show that you like less, what it is that you think we can improve. If you have suggestions for guests that you would like to hear from, we will reach out to them and try to get them on the show. Not everybody says yes, but we do make the effort of reaching out, and hopefully enough people say yes that we get enough interesting interviews. So if there's anybody you want to hear from, we have no pride, no shame. We will write and we will ask. The worst they can say is no, right? So we try. And of course, if you happen to have a home based business or know somebody who does, or if you work with a community group or know somebody who does and they have an event coming and they would like to advertise to an audience that is very engaged and proudly Canadian, looking to buy Canadian and do business with other Canadians, then please let us know who they are or make yourself known. We have manners which you can advertise with us that are very, very low cost, and particularly for community groups because we know that you have smaller budgets. And, we would like to help you get the word out. We're trying to build some community here, and we would like to help you achieve success as you help us achieve success as well. We'd like it to be a mutually beneficial agreement. So please do write to us if there's anything that we can do to help. We generally, that's our default mode. If we can help, we will. So let us know, and we will find a way to get the word out. And we appreciate everything that you do on that front, Kids and Cubs, to try to help us in those endeavors. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, remember that you have some provincial and territorial elections coming soon. There will be one in Newfoundland and Labrador in October and one in Yukon Territory in November. Please, if you have an opportunity, if some candidates are already nominated and you happen to know who they are, find out who they are. If there's someone that you particularly support who you like their policies already, get out there and do that. Let it be known. Volunteer for the campaign. Do some phone banking or some door knocking or envelope stuffing or anything of the sort. Sign planting. all of that. Of course, your election bodies are going to need people to man the polling stations, so they might be looking for people already. If that's something that you'd be interested in doing, please do so. I've done it once before, and it was an absolutely wonderful experience. I do recommend that everybody do it at least once in their life, so they can see the utter joy on the faces of fellow citizens as they are doing democracy. It really lifts your spirits and makes you feel really good about the country. So I very much recommend it. But there's all that kind of stuff to do. So please get informed and get involved. Now, if you live in Alberta specifically, because we talked a lot about Alberta today, kits and cubs, the good people at forever-canadian.ca, that's the website, are trying to collect at least 294,000 and probably a significant amount more of signatures in order to get a citizens initiative question on Alberta remaining part of Confederation on the ballot for a vote. And in the process, well, throwing a damper on the Alberta separatists by making it such that they couldn't present an opposing question for at least 5 years. So, kits and cubs, if you would like to participate in this effort to keep Canada together, we definitely would encourage you to do so by going to forever-canadian.ca to find out where they are going to have a pop-up location. Very important that you go to those because all signatures have to be done in person and witnessed. And for that purpose, well, that's why they have canvassers to help collect those signatures. And you might be interested in becoming a canvasser. And you can also sign up for that purpose at forever-canadian.ca, particularly if you live in an apartment building or something like that. It makes you the perfect person to go around and collect signatures in your own building. So, yeah, kits and cubs, please do that if you can. Um, Forever Canadian has announced that if you happen to live in Spruce Grove, Alberta, Canadian Forge and Farrier Supply has become a permanent petition signature collection spot. And they have some stuff going on here. They're open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. today and tomorrow, and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So please go there if you can sign. That would be absolutely fantastic. And here, for those who are wondering, there's a little message here from Thomas Lukasik I'm going to put up here. He says, many of you are asking me how confidential are the Forever Canadian signatures and if government officials will see them. He says they will be treated by Elections Alberta like voting ballots. Once counted, they will be destroyed. Government has no access to this information. And here we go, kits and cubs, since we are doing it. Let's opportunity to show you Mr. Lukasik uh, advocating for his own movement here. Just making sure you're on green. Okay. I will take off the things that are hiding him. And here you go, kits and cubs.
Hello, Forever Canadians. A lot of you are sending me private messages asking how confidential are the signatures and who will see them. Well, let me share this with you. These signatures are collected by me, and I will be personally handing them in to our elections commissioner. And then they will be reviewed and tabulated by the elections commission. But the elections commission is 100% independent of government of Alberta, of the cabinet, and of the premier. So no elected officials, premier, cabinet ministers, will ever have a chance to look at the signatures and know who did or who did not sign it. So just as a peace of mind for you, if you're worried about confidentiality, if you think that you may have a conflict, there really isn't one. Anybody can sign it without any concern that that will be scrutinized by somebody who may somehow adversely affect you. So thank you so much, and I appreciate your work and your signatures.
And there you go, kits and cubs, which if Thomas Lukasik felt that he needed to make a video, clearly there's enough people in Alberta who fear, who know their government well enough to fear retribution and therefore needed to be assuaged. And you'll notice that everything that Thomas Lukasik there says about Elections Alberta being an independent body that has no direct link to the government is exactly what we said to you about Elections Canada as it pertains to the opening of an investigation into Keean Bexte. So there you go. Whether it's provincial or whether it's federal, it's the same damn rules. our electoral bodies are not arms of the government of the day. They just aren't. So, forevercanadian.ca, please go there, find out about pop up spot locations, sign up to be a canvasser, sign up to volunteer in other ways, make a donation to the organization because they too need funds to do what they are doing. All of it matters, and we really appreciate it. And of course, the most important, sign the petition. It's really important. Okay, kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. And now, at the count of three, if I may have all of you kids and cubs engage in a little audience participation and say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cog on 1, 2, 3. Ah, yes, there it is, the lovely sounds of the DamFam singing in high exultation at the joyous news that there may be henceforth only one true queen. And as your loyal servant, your queen must oblige. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, I notice here that Kit Cassie is out to do a whole bunch of baking fruit explosion bread muffins and trail mix cookies and Dutch oven bread. That all sounds absolutely divine. And I can't eat a bite of any of it. I'm allergic to it all. Kids and cubs, a little bit of news of Canadians who make us proud. Again, focusing on the U.S. Open. Felix Auger-Aliassime played his match yesterday against Alex de Minaur, and it was a little difficult at first. It seemed to be for a while there in that match that it didn't seem that anybody actually wanted to win it. Auger-Aliassime was a little nervous. You can spot the case, and so was de Minaur. One of the reasons for that may be that Felix Auger-Aliassime has only made the semifinal of a Grand Slam once. It was the U.S. Open 4 years ago when he was in his early 20s, and not since. In fact, in many Grand Slams over the most recent period, he's been bounced out of the first round. And then de Minaur, I think, if I'm not mistaken, had maybe never made a semifinal yet. So both of them were playing for an opportunity to be in some rarefied air when it comes to their personal careers. So it was a little shaky at first, but Felix Auger-Aliassime managed to get the needed break in the second set, and then, of course, went from there and didn't really look back, even though the match was still shaky at other instances throughout it. But managed to get a 4-set win against de Minaur and advances to the semi-final. And he will be playing world number one Yannick Sinner, who had, I would assume, I should say, he's playing Yannick Sinner because I didn't look at the final score. But when I went to bed, Yannick Sinner was very much in the lead against Musetti. Straight set win here. So that will be a semi-final match that will be very interesting to watch. Sinner is by far the favorite here, but no discounting Auger-Aliassime at the moment, who has Kits and Cubs in the last 5 matches, even though he is came into the tournament ranked 25th, if I am um, not mistaken. Uh, yes, 25th, took out the world number 3, the world number 15, and now world number 8 in 3 consecutive games. So he's on a bit of a giant killer run here, and let's hope that momentum could continue, because a defeat of Sinner would definitely be in a semifinal of a Grand Slam, would probably be his biggest victory yet. And in the other semifinal, we have, of course, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. It will set up a very interesting final, no matter who is there. But yes, Kits and Cubs, the top 4 players at this year's U.S. Open contains one Canadian. And it's been a while since we've had a Canadian male in a semifinal. So a little image there. We have Mr. Sinner, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Mr. Alcaraz sporting a new haircut, and of course the veteran Novak Djokovic going for his 25th Grand Slam, which if he does, he would be the player in the open era, male or female, to have won the most singles Grand Slam titles, if he manages to do that. In other news, Kits and Cubs, we talked about a doubles match that was going to take place yesterday between Canadian Gabriela Dabrowski and her partner Erin Routliffe, who represents New Zealand, against Sara Errani and Jasmine Paolini from Italy. Dabrowski and Routliffe were the number 3 team in the tournament. Errani and Paolini were the number 2 team in the tournament. And Dabrowski and Routliffe won the match fairly easily, 6-4, 6-3. And that sends them to the final against the number 1 team. So it'll be number 1 against number 3. The number 1 team of, I think it's Katarina Siniakova, her first name is, and Taylor Townsend. Siniakova, who is from the Czech Republic, and Townsend from the United States, they will be playing in the final. So, going for the big prize is a Canadian going for a Grand Slam title. If she wins it, if Gabriela Dabrowski and Erin Routliffe can pull it off, it would be Dabrowski's 4th Grand Slam doubles title. She has 2 mixed doubles and 1 doubles title with Erin Routliffe specifically. So this would be their 2nd together as a team, and further cementing her Hall of Fame career. And with the win as well, if they were able to win the final, Gabriela Dabrowski would rise back up to the number 4 doubles player, female doubles player in the world. She's currently at number 6, so out of back into the top 10, where she should be. And that would make Routliffe and Dabrowski the number 2 doubles team in the world again, because they would surpass Paolini and Errani, who are just ahead of them right now. But they would have to win the final to do that. So there you go, Kits and Cubs. And as for Felix Auger-Aliassime, with his semi-final win, he climbs back up the rankings to number 13th in the world, which is very important because when you're the top 32, you're a seed at the Grand Slams, and you don't face a higher seed until the 3rd round. When you're a top 16 in the world, you don't face a higher seed until the 4th round. If he wins the whole thing, he would be he would probably be number 10th in the world. And then there would be a question as to whether or not he would just wind it out for the season or try to keep playing to get into the top 8, which would make it such that in the Australian Open, if he could do that, he would not face a higher seeded player until the 5th round. Grand Slams are 7-round events. Anything that he can do to up his ranking will definitely be beneficial for him in terms of staying there. And Felix Auger-Aliassime really should be a top 10 player. His highest ranking has been 6th in the world, and he deserves to be in the top 10 and to be a permanent mainstay in there if he has the consistency, because he does have the game for that. So good news for Canadians at the U.S. Open in terms of the main draws. And of course, if we are looking kits and cubs, to the boys and girls draw, our juniors, because we have two Canadians playing yesterday, and they were both playing in the second round of doubles. We had Nicolas Arsenault, who, as I mentioned yesterday, had a great performance in Montreal in singles, having gotten a wild card into the first round to a Masters 1000 and having won his first match. But unfortunately, yesterday bowed out in doubles, and as did Nadia Lagayev, both losing in 3 sets, very tight game. The third set for the boys and girls is a tiebreaker to 10 points, and Arsenault and his partner lost 10-7, and Legayev and her partner lost 10-8. So very, very close to making the third round in the boys and girls tournament, but both of them eliminated. So there we go, kits and cubs. That's everything I've got for you today. Extra long show because we had so much Schadenfreude to celebrate. I still have more stuff that I could tell you, but I'm going to save it for tomorrow because we've just crossed the 3-hour mark, and that is that is way more than enough. So kits and cubs, thank you for your patience and indulgence. Lots of good news to share today. I hope that you're as happy as I am at a lot of Canadian Conservative karmic credit cards being called in. That makes me very, very happy. If I had a crowd behind me, they'd be yelling, more, more, more. We want more of this. We do want more of this. More accountability, more consequence culture. We are here for it. Kits and cubs, that's all I got for you. And so, like magic, I am gone.